After meeting Mo Qingqing, Mo Xian's life gradually settled into a peaceful rhythm. He completed his interview with Rongxing, but it wasn't quite what he'd expected. Instead of being assigned to Rongxing's R&D department, he was temporarily tasked with modifying and rewriting some program code. Comparatively, the work was much easier, and it was remote, meaning his current situation wasn't much different from before. Of course, he had no idea that Luo Miyuki had met Cheng Wenxin, much less what had actually transpired between them. Mo Xian sat in the living room, his laptop on his lap, fingers tapping away at the keyboard. His two daughters sat beside him, playing with their dolls. Luo Weier and Luo Shuer were very well behaved. They wouldn't disturb their father when he was busy. Only occasionally would they playfully hug Mo Xian's arm, peeking at the screen filled with what looked like indecipherable script. The sight of it just made the two little ones feel dizzy. Be good, dears. Daddy will get the tablet and find some cartoons for you. Don't look at this anymore, Mo Xian said, gently rubbing the cheeks of his two little darlings. He picked up the nearby tablet, placed it on the coffee table, and was searching for Pokemon episodes suitable for them when a nanny approached him, looking somewhat nervous. Mr. Mo, perhaps you should take the young missus upstairs first. Madam is here. Mo Xian's laptop nearly slipped to the floor. Shen Qingyun, the mother of Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki. Every time Mo Xian saw her, he became extremely tense. Shen Qingyun never showed outright disdain for Mo Xian, but she didn't show any particular fondness either. Each encounter was merely cool. Although the entire Luo family had tacitly accepted the situation, Shen Qingyun's attitude was distinctly different. Mo Xian, in particular, always sensed a hint of hostility in her gaze. He could understand. It was like seeing your carefully cultivated, prize-winning bloom snatched away, and worse, by someone like him. As that someone, Mo Xian felt genuinely sheepish when facing this woman who was, strictly speaking, his mother-in-law. Xiao Xian, take the children upstairs, Luo Xia said, having emerged from the study at some point. Since Mo Xian had started his new job, both sisters had also begun working from home. However, Luo Miyuki wasn't home today, as she had been invited to an art exhibition. It was just that Mo Xian felt the two of them had been a bit overly clingy lately. If he went to visit Grandma, they would follow. If he occasionally went to the school, they would follow. Sometimes, when Mo Xian wanted to go out, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki would ask him what he was doing. If he needed to buy something, the two sisters would make a call and have it delivered. As for wanting to go for a stroll, or just out for fun, they always found ways to make him stay. Moreover, when his daughters saw Mo Xian had free time, they would also clamor for him to play with them. And Mo Xian felt his own mental state had been rather peculiar recently. Given his usual temperament, he wouldn't have compromised on these things so easily, yet he had. He shook his head. Now wasn't the time to dwell on such thoughts. Closing his laptop, Mo Xian picked up his two daughters and headed upstairs. He was only halfway up when a somewhat cold voice resounded from the ground floor. What am I, their grandmother? Not even allowed to see my own granddaughters. Shen Qingyun, accompanied by her entourage, looked up at Mo Xian and the two little ones. Luo Weier and Luo Shuer seemed very happy to see her, stretching out their small hands and calling out, Grandma! Grandma! Shen Qingyun's gaze softened for an instant, then quickly reverted to its icy demeanor. She glanced at Mo Xian and said in a detached tone, Never mind. Take the children upstairs first. Xia and I have matters to discuss. Mo Xian nodded in agreement. He knew Shen Qingyun disliked him. He carried the children to their bedroom. Shen Qingyun watched Mo Xian's retreating figure, then instructed the people behind her, You may all leave first. The eldest miss and I have some things to discuss. The people Shen Qingyun had brought with her all withdrew. Uncle Zheng also led the nannies and servants away, leaving only mother and daughter in the living room. Where's your sister? Shen Qingyun slowly sat down on the sofa. You two sisters are becoming quite something, aren't you? Luo Tian told me Miyuki hit Cheng Wenxin. Xia, what exactly are you two trying to do? Nothing much. Just the same as you, Luo Xia replied, sitting on the sofa opposite her. She removed her gold-rimmed glasses and casually placed them on the coffee table. Mom, weren't you just like us back then, keeping Dad firmly in your grasp? How come it's not acceptable when it's our turn? Shen Qingyun stared directly into Luo Xia's eyes. The madness in them surpassed even her own from the past. That's different. Shen Qingyun began, her voice hesitant, but Luo Xia interrupted her with a smile. What's so different? Aren't we doing exactly what you did back then? You deliberately planned your pregnancy with me, and it was the same with Miyuki. Mom, Should I say we truly are mother and daughter? Even our methods are so similar. Shen Qingyun didn't answer, merely looking at her eldest daughter, while Luo Xia, completely unperturbed, calmly met her gaze. I never imagined you two would be this crazy, for both sisters to fall for the same man and be so utterly fixated. Shen Qingyun sighed. Back then, when the old master's illegitimate son was causing trouble, constantly targeting you sisters and Luo Tian, I, your father, and your eldest uncle's family were all too overwhelmed to protect ourselves. We had no choice but to send you and Miyuki away to that place. Mom, I never hated you for that. If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met Xiao Xian, Luo Xia said, her tone devoid of any emotion. Even back then, during that hopeless situation when Grandma chose to sacrifice Miyuki and me to protect Luo Tian, I didn't hate her either. Miyuki and I are girls. Luo Tian is the Luo family's only male heir. I can understand why she did it. So, I hope you can also understand Miyuki and me. All we want is emotion. As for the Chang family you mentioned, if you find them troublesome, then I'll just bankrupt them. Luo Xia spoke as if it were nothing, but Shen Qingyun's heart tightened upon hearing her words. After Mo Xian lost his memory, the sisters began to study with a frenzied intensity. After university, they secretly gathered all sorts of private information on the other prominent families in Jingdu. Shen Qingyun sometimes even felt her two daughters were monsters. During their university years, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki were already managing the Luo family's business affairs and had established a pharmaceutical laboratory with substantial investment. They had also spent untold amounts of money and resources cultivating connections. In the end, all the unsavory secrets of the families and corporations in Jingdu that could pose a threat to the Luo family, along with the Luo group's steadily improving financial reports, were laid out before the Luo family elders. And they had only one demand. They wanted Mo Xian. Old Madame Luo's initial attempt to find a compromise was merely to test Luo Xia's attitude. In terms of ability and cunning, Xia was even more profound than Luo Miyuki. No one expected Luo Xia to threaten the destruction of the Luo group. Old Madame Luo, already feeling guilty about past events, ultimately had no choice but to concede. The Cheng family didn't pursue the matter, and Cheng Wenxin herself wouldn't dare to lose face over it, but Shen Qingyun gave her daughter a helpless look. Also, I love your father very much, and I never regretted having you too. I know. Miyuki and I are mothers now too, Luo Xia said, glancing at the dolls on the sofa. But I love Mo Xian more. This chapter was temporarily held for review, but has now been approved. Shen Qingyun wasn't surprised by Luo Xia's answer in the slightest. In fact, if she hadn't answered that way, she wouldn't be Luo Xia. As long as you're happy. Shen Qingyun let out a long sigh. Since it's come to this, I hope you'll consider your grandmother's words. Given your situation, I still think it's best for you to leave Jingdu. It's not like you can never come back, and your father and I can still visit you. Mom, don't bother with such empty promises anymore, Luo Xia said, calmly gazing at her mother. I used to trust you and father the most, but now I only trust Xiao Xian. He's the only one who won't betray me. Just because of what happened back then. Yes, just because of what happened back then. Luo Xia's voice was devoid of any inflection. Shen Qingyun tried to discern any hint of a lie on her eldest daughter's beautiful face, but she found nothing. When all of you abandoned Miyuki and me, it was Mo Xian who risked his life to save us, and he ended up injured. To this day, the nerve damage means his memories haven't returned. I've tried many methods, but the doctors say this kind of injury can only heal slowly. Even if he recovers, there's no telling how long it would take for him to remember Miyuki and me. I can't even use modern medical technology to forcibly awaken his memories. The risks involved are unknown, and I don't want him to suffer. When we were abandoned by the whole world, betrayed by our closest kin, only Mo Xian came to our side. So, whether by careful planning or by hook or by crook, I will make sure he stays with us forever. Shen Qingyun closed her eyes in pain. In Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki's world, Mo Xian was their only light. As for their family, they were now merely relatives. After that incident, Luo Miyuki had drawn a picture. The entire world was black and white, except for a boy sitting on a large tree, eating a melon, who was rendered in color. Shen Qingyun didn't dislike Mo Xian. In fact, she was deeply grateful to him. Her coldness towards him stemmed from her being a mother. She didn't want her two daughters to be so fanatical, to go to such lengths. But for Mo Xian, they cared about nothing else. Only Shin Qingyun knew that Luo Xia and Luo Muqi had been aware of Mo Jinpeng's scheme against Mo Xian and had made preparations in advance. They had even taken medication that day to ensure they would conceive Mo Xian's child. As for leaving Jingdu, I will. I've already purchased a seaside villa abroad. Xiao Xian likes the sea. Thinking of Mo Xian, Luo Xia's eyes filled with both love and a disturbing intensity. Any other questions? If not, I'll have Xiao Xian bring the children down. As their grandmother, you have the right to visit them. Shen Qingyun looked at her daughter, sometimes finding her utterly incomprehensible. Yet, when she thought about her own past relationship with their father, she felt a glimmer of understanding. The Shen family was no minor household. Their roots simply weren't in Jingdu, but in Hudu. Whatever status the Luo family held in Jingdu, the Shen family held in Hudu. Shen Qingyun hadn't married the sister's father, Luo Sheng, for an alliance or for benefits. She had truly fallen in love with him. Luo Sheng was much like Mo Xian, gentle, talented, and kind. Luo Sheng's luck had been better than Mo Xian's. He had loving parents and a deep bond with his elder brother, Luo Quan. Mo Xian had encountered Su Yanran, but Luo Sheng was fortunate. There was no one else, only Shen Qingyun. At that time, Shen Qingyun had been engaged to someone from another prominent Hudu family, an old acquaintance of the Shen family. But Shen Qingyun didn't love him, nor did he love her. It was merely a marriage of convenience. Shen Qingyun had done something quite scandalous for her time. She had gotten Luo. Shen Qingyun entered the study to find Mo Xian already waiting for her. She had never denied it. No matter which of her daughters Mo Xian ended up with, she wouldn't object. She didn't care about his background. Mo Xian wasn't some calculating social climber trying to marry into the Luo family, and she knew that well enough. Sit, she said. She could tell he was nervous around her. She had always been rather distant with him. After all, Mo Xian sat down a bit stiffly on the couch. Shen Qingyun didn't sit. Instead, she leaned against the desk, watching him. Her gaze made Mo Xian uncomfortable. He lowered his head and stared at the floor. To be honest, I still don't agree with this, Shen Qingyun said with a sigh, her voice tinged with helplessness and resignation. But the kids are grown now, and I can't control them. Given the situation, separating you now wouldn't be easy either. I'm entrusting my daughter to you. I don't have much else to say. Mo Xian, if you ever hurt them. Shen Qingyun didn't finish the sentence, but Mo Xian understood perfectly. He looked up, eyes firm. I won't. I promise. Such a familiar sentence. Shen Qingyun faintly remembered. He had said something similar the first time she met him. He was only 13 back then. Mo Xian, can you tell me why you lost your memory? She asked, her thoughts drifting to the past. Do you really not remember? I don't, he replied with a bitter smile. People told me I got into a fight and was beaten pretty badly. You know, I trained in martial arts with my master. Maybe before the memory loss, I got cocky and someone taught me a lesson. Shen Qingyun nodded, though recalling those events still sent chills down her spine. He was just 15 at the time. Even as Master Zhang's final disciple, what he accomplished was frightening. She wasn't sure if it was a surge of adrenaline or sheer talent. But if Mo Xian hadn't fought with everything he had to protect them, Luo Xia and Luo Muqi might not have made out alive. The thought made Shen Qingyun look at him with a complicated expression. This boy could have walked away. He could have abandoned Luo Xia and her sister, and no one would have blamed him. Not even her. But he didn't. He had put his life on the line for them. I'm going to check on Wei'er and Shuer. I'll be back soon, Shen Qingyun said, letting the matter drop. I heard you joined Roxing. Even if you're working from home, don't let your guard down. I don't expect you to become some big-shot CEO. That's not in your nature anyway. But don't waste your education. Aunt Shun, aren't you staying for dinner? Mo Xian glanced at the time. I'm cooking today. If you don't mind my skills, stay and eat with us. No, they probably wouldn't want me to stay, Shen Qingyun replied, her tone tinged with bitterness. After a pause, she pulled out a photo and handed it to Mo Xian. I figured you should see this. I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. Mo Xian didn't understand, but politely took the photo with both hands. The moment he looked at it, his temples throbbed violently. His fingers clenched around the picture. No need to be angry, Shen Qingyun said with a self-deprecating smile. Sometimes parents aren't the ones closest to you. They can be the ones who hurt you the most. Keep it. If you need anything, let me know. And Mo Xian, don't ever think any of this was your fault. Losing you was Qinyi's loss. You knew her? Mo Xian asked, forcing down the fury in his chest as he looked up. Shen Qingyun nodded. We were college classmates. I know her pretty well. Don't let it get to you. She didn't love Mo Zhongshan, and honestly, she doesn't love anyone. She glanced down at the photo. The reason Mo Xian was so upset was likely the date printed in the bottom right corner, 21 years ago. It was the day she'd sent him to his grandmother's. The photo was well preserved, showing a much younger Qin and I in an affectionate pose with another man. That meant on the very day she abandoned her son, she was already chasing after her lover, completely indifferent to whether her 3-year-old would adapt or survive. Mo Xian remembered it clearly. His grandmother had told him. At nearly 3, he already had memories. He remembered her walking away without even saying goodbye. Even though he had long since given up hope on his parents, the emotions still bubbled up. Anger, sadness, something he couldn't even name. Thank you, Aunt Shun. Mo Xian exhaled deeply, as if trying to release the weight pressing down on his chest. How did you get this photo? I just want to hold my daughters. That's all. She walked to the study's door. Mo Xian, whether you believe it or not, my daughters love you. Deeply. Maybe too deeply. But I can promise you, no one will ever love you more than they do. If you need my help, you know how to reach me. I even know where that man is now. When she opened the door, Luo Miyuki was standing right outside, eyes wary. Shen Xinyan smiled and said nothing, only reaching out to gently touch her daughter's cheek. I'm going to see my granddaughter. Luo Miyuki didn't respond. She simply watched her mother leave, then turned and walked into the study. She threw herself into Mo Xian's arms and looked up at him with her charming, almond-shaped eyes. Brother, did my mom give you a hard time? No, of course not, Mo Xian said gently, hugging her close. You must be tired. I'll go make dinner. What would you like to eat? You. Luo Miyuki suddenly bit him hard, then grabbed him by the collar and kissed him. This chapter's a bit short, so here's a bonus one. Also, I just released the first chapter of a new series. It's on my profile. If you like it, I'll start updating that one too. Thanks. Oh, in stark contrast to the harmony surrounding Mo Xian, the Mo family was now shrouded in gloom. Mo Tingting was holed up at home, her career at a complete standstill. All endorsements were halted, variety show invitations were rescinded and offered to others. Fortunately, she wasn't currently filming any TV series, but a script that had been set for her was also given to someone else. In the entertainment industry, being exposed as a homewrecker, knowingly getting involved with someone already in a relationship, usually meant career suicide. The Shui family was eager to use her as a scapegoat. Mo Tingting's company and the Mo family both spent money trying to suppress the online public opinion, but as soon as it died down, the Shui family would stir it up again. In a way, Mo Tingting had indeed become famous, and it was Shui Ming who had made her so, albeit infamously. Mo Changshan hadn't berated her. Not because he'd suddenly had a change of heart, but because the entire Mo corporation was in turmoil due to Mo Tingting's scandal. He, Mo Qingqing, and even Mo Jinping, who had been confined at home, were all recalled to the company to deal with the fallout. Qin and I, having once used Mo Tingting for a public appearance, wasn't faring much better either. Only Mo Yingying was at home with her. Given the current situation, Mo Yingying didn't even have the heart to scold her anymore. Second sister, what on earth am I supposed to do? Mo Tingting's hair was a mess, her eyes red and swollen. The successive blows had left her without an appetite for 2 days. She hadn't even drunk much water. Her once rosy lips were now pale and chapped from dryness. Eat something first. Seeing Mo Tingting in this state, Mo Yingying couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. They were twins, with Mo Yingying born just a few minutes before Mo Tingting. But an older sister was still an older sister. No matter how angry she was, she still felt sad for her. Tingting, why don't you go hide somewhere for a while? Knowing Dad's temper, he'll kill you when he gets back. Mo Yingying sighed, pushing a bowl of congee towards her. The family will definitely cover your breach of contract fees, don't worry. I have an apartment in the north of the city that I bought without the family knowing. You can stay there for a while. But the penalty is tens of millions. Mo Tingting's voice was laced with uncertainty. Do you think Dad will abandon me, just like he abandoned Mo Xian? No way. You're different from Mo Xian. Mo Yingying couldn't help but roll her eyes at her. Mom and Dad have doted on us since we were little. Whatever Jinping had, we had too. They gave us just as much as they gave Jinping. How could you possibly be like Mo Xian? Mo Tingting didn't answer. Under pressure, it was natural for one's mind to race with wild thoughts, and memories of the various injustices Mo Xian had suffered at home began to surface in her mind. Actually, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. Seeing her lost in thought, Mo Yingying hesitated for a moment before speaking. Tingting, you're almost 30. A female celebrity's prime in the entertainment industry is only so long. After all these years of trying, you're still just lukewarm. I know, second sister. Mo Tingting lowered her head. Yes, she was almost 30, and the only roles she could still land were in idol dramas. She had released an album, but it barely broke even. She had only been in one movie, and that was just a supporting role. If it weren't for her family's backing in the fast-paced, ever-changing entertainment world, she would have faded into obscurity long ago. Beauty? In showbiz, looks were indeed important, but there were plenty of people prettier than her. Besides, without any noteworthy works to her name, no matter how beautiful, she was just a pretty face, a vase. Mo Tingting thought of P3.She again. For some reason, ever since her scandal broke, she kept thinking about her brother who had left home. She had a gut feeling, a premonition, that she might soon be abandoned by the family, just like P3.She, or perhaps even worse off than him. Sheen Corporation Jewelry. Sheen and I sat in her chair, feeling vexed. Mom, are you all right? Only she and Jiang Sifeng were in the office. Hearing his call, Sheen and I didn't answer immediately. She looked at his thin, pale face and felt a sudden wave of disgust. Lately, she kept thinking about P3.She, sometimes even wondering what had been wrong with her to have treasured this sickly, illegitimate son so much. Jiang Sifeng was her illegitimate son with her first love, the man P3.She had seen in the photograph. That man's name was Jiang Feng, and he and Sheen and I had been childhood sweethearts. Shen Qingyan had once said something very true. Sheen and I loved no one but herself. Jiang Feng came from an artistic family and was well off, but he paled in comparison to the Mo family. So, in the end, she decisively abandoned Jiang Feng and married Mo Changshan. Unexpectedly, after giving birth to Mo Jinping, Sheen and I ran into Jiang Feng during a business trip abroad in a foreign land. Jiang Feng had never married and, with tears streaming down his face, told her he had been waiting for her all along. The sweetness of their youth, coupled with a twinge of guilt, led Sheen and I and Jiang Feng to sleep together, and she became pregnant. During that time, Sheen and I became somewhat addicted to the thrill of this illicit affair. What was supposed to be a 5-month business trip, she dragged out until the child was born. As for why Mo Changshan wasn't suspicious, he couldn't have been happier with Sheen Ni's absence. After all, his own hands weren't clean. Jiang Sifeng was frail since birth and had poor health. Sheen and I felt immensely guilty towards him. Even after she later became pregnant and gave birth to P3.She, she mostly hired wet nurses to care for P3.She. During that period, her relationship with Jiang Feng was strong. Under the guise of work, she bought property abroad, letting Jiang Feng live there, and hired nannies to look after father and son. She herself would visit them every few days. But in the end, she still gave Jiang Feng a sum of money and sent him abroad. She had never loved Jiang Feng that much. In her heart, Mo Changshan was more important because he could bring her tangible benefits. Jiang Feng was merely a tool for her emotional release when she needed it. Slowly gathering her thoughts, Sheen and I glanced at Jiang Sifeng again. For years, her affection for this illegitimate son could be said to be second only to Mo Jinping. She had even made an exception and let him be her assistant. But recently, with one thing piling up after another, of her 2 most beloved sons, one was an absurd troublemaker, and the other was a walking medicine pot. Conversely, P3.She, who had left home, was not only healthy and strikingly handsome, but also academically accomplished at a young age. This made her reconsider things, and the first one she needed to deal with was this illegitimate son standing before her. Sifeng, hand over the shares you hold, Sheen and I said abruptly. I've thought about it. With your frail constitution, I really can't rest assured in trusting the company to you. I'll have Ying hold your shares. Don't worry, Mom won't treat you unfairly. Jiang Sifeng's already pale face turned as white as a sheet upon hearing Sheen Ni's words. But he didn't dare to defy Sheen and I. After all, relying on her favoritism and the shares he held, he had done quite a few things behind her back. He was terrified. If Sheen and I found out, knowing his mother, she was capable of personally sending him to prison. Ever since he started working by Sheen Ni's side, he increasingly felt a growing distance between his mother and himself, and he gradually experienced her cold-heartedness. In the past, he had been complacent, thinking that while Sheen and I didn't care about P3.She, she treated him, Jiang Sifeng, with special regard. But he had never considered they were both her sons. If Sheen and I could abandon P3.She, why couldn't she abandon him? All right, Mom, don't worry, Jiang Sifeng replied without hesitation. Besides, everything I have was given to me by you. I have no complaints if you want to take it back. Being well-spoken and knowing how to appear vulnerable were Jiang Sifeng's greatest assets. This was why Qin and I had treated him with special favor for so long. But the past was the past. Now, to Qin and I, he was nothing but trouble, especially since he had underestimated the capabilities and intelligence of a company president. Qin and I gave a cold smile. Sifeng, since you know everything you have was given by me, why did you still scheme behind my back? The gold adulteration incident last time, that was your doing, wasn't it? Mom, what? What are you saying? A chill swept through Ethan's chest, alarm bells blaring in his head. Still, he tried to keep his face calm, terrified any crack might give him away. Relax, Nina said with a faint, indifferent smile. It's already in the past. You're still my son, after all. I wouldn't really pursue it. I just can't figure out what I ever did to deserve this from you. Did I ever deny you anything? You needed money. Would I ever say no? Ethan hung his head, too ashamed to meet her gaze. But Nina couldn't bring herself to be truly ruthless. No matter what, this illegitimate son had followed her for years. You can go for now, she said, letting out a long sigh. There's just been too much happening lately. Don't forget your hospital checkups. She paused for a moment. By the way, has your father reached out to you recently? No, he had, but Ethan knew better than to tell her. Nina didn't press. She just waved her hand dismissively, and Ethan could only take his leave. Staring out the window, Nina looked utterly drained. What weighed on her the most now was how to handle the legacy she had spent half her life building. With her decades of business experience, she knew trouble would soon follow. The Mo family and the Qin family were deeply intertwined. How could she possibly distance herself now? Even if she divorced, Mo Jinping and Mo Tingting would still be her children. What made it worse was that the Mo family was in apparel, while she specialized in jewelry, products where public image was everything. A scandal like this tied to a brand spokesperson could easily trigger a consumer boycott. Once sales dropped, the stock price would follow. And the Mo family spokesperson was none other than her own daughter. The Qin family had benefited immensely from Mo Tingting's fame. If rivals used this scandal as an opening to undercut them and steal market share, the fallout could be devastating. No one could say what might happen next. It was in this moment that her thoughts drifted to Mo Xian. Compared to the chaos swirling around the others, her younger son seemed like an outlier. At least he hadn't created a mess like Mo Jinping. And he definitely hadn't betrayed her like Ethan had. She had reclaimed Ethan's shares, but had no intention of handing them to Mo Yingying. She planned to give them to Mo Xian instead. For the first time, she realized maybe Mo Xian was the one she could truly trust. But even so, she also knew the truth. Mo Xian didn't need them anymore. Compared to the mess within the Mo family, Mo Xian's life was borderline idyllic. The only trouble he had to deal with was being kissed by Luo Muqi all morning, and now being pinned down his room by Luo Xia for another round. If it weren't for Shun Qingyun still being around, these two sisters would probably have crossed every line imaginable. Xia, I still have to go make lunch. Mo Xian tried to sit up, but Luo Xia grabbed him by the collar and yanked him back down. Lately, these two sisters were wearing him out, not because of anything physical, but because they just wouldn't give him a moment to himself. It was like they wanted to be glued to him 24/7. And it wasn't love in their eyes. It was something much darker. Obsession. Possession. Thankfully, a phone call saved him. Luo Xia finally eased her grip, though she still clung to him like an octopus. All right, got it. I'll be there this afternoon. He ended the call and looked at her helplessly. My advisor wants me back at school. There's a new project he wants me involved in. You can't go. Xia, I have to. I said no. What happened to the sweet, considerate big sister from before? I'm kidding. Luo Xia finally let go, then helped straighten his clothes like nothing had happened. When will you be back? I'll come pick you up. Not sure. I'll call you or Muki when I'm done. He couldn't guarantee a time. There had been days he worked until midnight before. A flicker of something cold flashed through Luo Xia's eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it came. She smiled gently. All right then, let's go make lunch. I'll help you, okay? As if she hadn't just been trying to keep him from leaving moments ago. Mo Xian couldn't help but ask Xia, you and Muki, is everything okay between you two lately? Afraid you won't want us anymore? She whispered, lifting her head. Her expression, usually so soft, now looked heartbreakingly fragile. How could I ever not want you too? Mo Xian gently wrapped his arms around her waist. I told you, so long as you still need me, I'll always be here for you. Always. Luo Xia buried her head against his chest, her body trembling slightly. Mo Xian thought she was crying and hurried to comfort her. Shia, are you okay? I'm fine, she said, voice low and strained. Her arms clutched tightly around his. Her head stayed down, not because she was crying, but because she didn't want him to see the twisted smile on her face. Just a little longer. My plan will work. Shin, you're too naive. How could you ever think of leaving me and Miyuki? Chains don't have to be physical. She nestled deeper into his arms. He had a distinctive scent, medicinal, herbal. It came from the bath gel he always used. Not floral, but uniquely him. If you're worried, he joked, you can install a GPS tracker on my phone. Already did, Luo Shia whispered. Huh? You already what? Mo, Shin didn't catch it. She lifted her head and kissed him quickly. Then she smiled as if nothing had happened. Nothing. Come on, let's go make lunch. Before he could react, she pulled him out of the room. Downstairs, Shun Xinyan was bent over saying goodbye to Luo Wire and Luo Shuer. Luo Miyuki sat on the couch watching TV, completely unfazed. Ms. Shun, are you heading out? Mo, Xian asked, trying to walk her to the door, but Luo Xia was still holding tightly to his hand. He had no choice but to stay put. Shun Xinyan glanced at her eldest daughter, who was focused solely on Mo Xian, and then at her younger daughter, who wouldn't even look her way. Her heart ached. If only things hadn't gone the way they had. Maybe things wouldn't be like this now. Yes, I've got something this afternoon. I'll head back. You all take care. She turned to leave, but just then, two voices called out behind her. Take care on the road. Mom, I'll visit you next time. Shun Qingyun froze mid-step. Then she gave a feint and without turning back and walked out. Luo Xia watched her mother's figure disappear without a second glance. She turned back, pulling Mo Xian toward the kitchen. Behind them, Luo Miyuki grumbled in annoyance. Sis, you can't keep hogging him all the time, you know. Daddy, Daddy. The two toddlers came running over like little attachments, clinging to Mo Xian's legs and refusing to let go. Mo Xian sighed inwardly. This happiness of his really was starting to feel a little too heavy to bear. Finally got out. What a relief. But man, that scared me enough to stop writing nonsense for a while. The first light snow of November had fallen in the capital. Mo Xian stepped out of the car, then turned to lift Luo Weier and Luo Shuer out as well. The two little ones were dressed in puffy pink padded jackets and adorable cat-themed shoes. Seeing the snow on the nursing home grounds, they waved their hands excitedly. Daddy, Daddy, I want to play. Behave yourselves. Luo Xia emerged from the passenger seat. She wore a black trench coat and walked over to Mo Xian's side, her black-gloved hand gently pinching the children's cheeks. You just had to pester your daddy to come see great-grandma. What if you catch a cold when we get back? Daddy, Mommy, or Auntie is scolding us. The two daughters complained to Mo Xian, their eyes red and on the verge of tears. Mo Xian couldn't help but give a wry smile. He then said to his daughters, No, she's just looking out for you. Weier and Shuer are the most obedient girls, aren't you? Lately, Mo Xian's life had settled into a simple routine. Finishing his projects at the university and then going home, making time to visit his grandmother whenever he could. As for the Mo family, he hadn't paid them any mind. However, he'd heard that Mo Qingqing had managed to turn things around. She had contacted him midway, asking for his help. Luo Xia had told Mo Xian to agree, but in reality, he hadn't gotten involved much at all. In the end, word was that Mo Qingqing had done something. The Yi family had intervened, and the Mo family had somehow managed to pull through. Mo Xian hadn't inquired about what happened afterwards. If Luo Miyuki hadn't mentioned it the other day, he might not have even remembered his own dysfunctional birth family. As they reached the hospital room door, the two little girls happily wriggled free from Mo Xian's grasp and toddled excitedly inside. Oh, my little darlings are here again. Seeing her two precious great-granddaughters so often recently seemed to have lifted Grandma's spirits considerably. Mo Xian had suggested several times taking his grandmother abroad for treatment, but she had always refused. I don't want all that fuss. Besides, if I go abroad and breathe my last there, I wouldn't even die in my homeland. That would be a terrible shame. Hearing his grandmother say this, Mo Xian didn't try to persuade her further. Instead, he simply started bringing the children to visit more and more often. Sometimes, when he was too busy at the university to get away, Luo Xia or Luo Miyuki would bring the girls over. Are you feeling a bit better recently? Luo Xia asked gently, walking over to the bedside. Grandma waved her hand. Much better. Xia dear, come sit down. Her voice was affectionate, and her eyes were full of fondness as she looked at Luo Xia. She was living one day at a time. Her main concern had always been Mo Xian, but now that he had these sisters by his side, she wouldn't have to worry about him anymore. Seeing this, Auntie Zhang, who was taking care of Grandma, picked up the teapot, made an excuse about needing to get some hot water, and discreetly slipped out to give the family some time to talk. Once the door was closed, Grandma finally looked at Mo Xian and said, "Little Xian, Auntie Zhang had someone clean the house for me. I want to be discharged and go home." Mo Xian looked up, his eyes showing a hint of surprise as he gazed at his grandmother. Grandma seemed to expect this reaction and explained with a smile, "This old body of mine. It's the same wherever I stay. I've been here for so long, it's time I went back home." Mo Xian didn't answer, his head lowered, his expression unreadable. Grandma feigned displeasure. "You silly boy. Why do you lower your head when I'm talking to you? I'm just tired of staying here and want to go home. All right, tell me when you want to be discharged, and I'll arrange it." Mo Xian looked up, his eyes moist, but a smile still played on his lips. "Tomorrow, or let's make it today." Grandma turned to look out the window, where snowflakes were still drifting sparsely. "I remember it was snowing, the first snow, when I was admitted. Let's choose today for my discharge too." "Okay, then Mo Xian began, starting to get up, but Luo Xia gently pressed his shoulder. "Let me go. You stay and help Grandma pack her things." "No need. Auntie Zhang has already packed everything." "Xia, you stay. Let little Xian go." Grandma seemed even more cheerful at the prospect of going home. "Go on, little Xian, and let the little darlings go with you, shall they?" Mo Xian glanced at his grandmother in surprise, but Luo Xia tugged his hand and said softly, "Go on. I'm a woman. It'll be easier for me to stay and help." Mo Xian nodded. "All right then. I'll leave Grandma in your care, Xia." "Thank you." With that, Mo Xian took his daughter's small, soft hands and led them out of the room. "You have something you want to say to me, don't you, Grandma?" Luo Xia said, turning back to look at her. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone to the trouble of sending little Xian and the others out. Xia, if I'm no longer around, I'll have to entrust this child to you all." Grandma's face wore a smile of acceptance. "I know my own body. I'm not sure I'll even make it to the end of the year. Perhaps one day I'll fall asleep and just not wake up again." "Please don't say such things, Grandma." Luo Xia felt a pang of discomfort hearing this. But Grandma sighed. "For so long, I've been curious. My grandson, he's handsome, it's true, but his family background and status are so different from yours. Can you tell me, Grandma, why you girls are so devoted to him?" "Grandma, I'm Wei Wei. He must have mentioned me to you." Hearing Luo Xia's words, Grandma paused for a moment. Then realization dawned on her. "No wonder. I understand now." Mo Xian had been introverted since he was a child and had few friends. When he was 13, he suddenly mentioned that he had met two sisters nearby, and he started spending a lot of time playing with them. Grandma had inquired about them. They were new residents who had moved into an old Western-style house near an apartment complex in the neighborhood. Word was their family was quite well off. The two children in that family didn't even attend regular school. They had private tutors come to their home. Grandma was worried, so she paid them a visit herself. She didn't meet the girls, but she spoke with their housekeeper. The housekeeper introduced himself as Mr. Zheng and said he, along with several nannies and maids, looked after their employer's two children. Grandma, being a university professor, though she didn't meet the girls themselves, was impressed by Mr. Zheng's eloquent speech and refined manners. She also met their tutors, one of whom she even recognized as a renowned educator. Only then did Grandma feel at ease. Moreover, they even invited Mo Xian to study alongside their young ladies. Grandma offered to pay, but they refused to accept anything. They simply said that their young ladies had no friends and enjoyed studying and playing with Mo Xian. Occasionally, Mo Xian would mention their names, and one of them was Wei Wei. "I never imagined you sisters would be so devoted for so long," Grandma said, a hint of resignation in her voice. "Back then, I always felt there was something unusual about you two sisters. Only that silly boy of mine wouldn't have noticed. How could it be such a coincidence that he'd encounter something like this? I could never figure out what you were truly after. But the way you looked at him, that kind of emotion doesn't lie. I kept thinking, no matter what your intentions were, what you might have wanted from him, at least in this world, besides this old woman, you were the only ones who genuinely cared about him. I never expected it to be you." Luo Xia said guiltily, "I'm sorry, Grandma. We should have told you sooner. I know what you were worried about." Grandma gave a wry smile. "Back then, when that boy got hurt, it was because of you too, wasn't it? This old woman might not be the most magnanimous person, but seeing how much you've done for him, I'd be truly ungrateful to blame you any further. Besides, I know my grandson. If he hadn't been willing himself, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Xia, from now on, I'll have to entrust him to you and Miyuki." The snow outside seemed to be falling more heavily. Luo Xia looked at the drifting snowflakes and said softly to Grandma, "Rest assured, Grandma, he's more important to me than my own life." The discharge process went quickly, and Grandma was in high spirits. Mo Xian tried to help her, but the spry old lady was a bit reluctant. Thanks to the nursing home staff and a few helpful family members, even the director and others came to see Grandma off before she got in the car. After all, the nursing home had been secretly acquired by the Luo Corporation. Seeing Grandma leave, the director actually felt a sense of relief. Thankfully, Grandma had been fine all this time. If anything had happened, Grandma and Annie Zhang sat in the back, the two little ones clinging to their great-grandmother's hands, coaxing a beaming smile from the old lady. "I've spoken with Miyuki. She'll meet us at Grandma's place," Luo Xia said, putting down her phone. "Someone needs to be at Grandma's. Should we stay there tonight?" Luo Xia had asked before, wanting Grandma to stay with them, but Grandma had refused. She just wanted to go back to her own little home, saying it would make her feel at ease. "Forget it, Grandma's place isn't very big. It might be inconvenient if you and Miyuki go too," Mo Xian said, a bit troubled. "I can stay there tonight and take care of Grandma. You and Miyuki can take the kids back later, all right?" Grandma's place was in a somewhat old dormitory building, a 2-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment, not very spacious. It would indeed be quite inconvenient for 4 adults and 2 children to squeeze in there. "It's fine, don't worry," Luo Xia said with a light laugh. "Besides, you know the kids can't be without you." In the end, with no other option, Mo Xian had to agree. Back at the dormitory building, thankfully Mo Xian and Grandma Zhang would occasionally come by to clean and air out the place, so it was still spotless and tidy. Grandpa Zhang passed away when Mo Xian was 17, and Annie Zhang had taken Grandma Zhang in. However, Grandma Zhang would sometimes come back to tidy up her old house. Since Mo Xian's grandma was hospitalized, Grandma Zhang had asked for a spare key and would occasionally come over to help out. Annie Zhang didn't come up. She got out of the car midway and went home, reminding Mo Xian to be sure to bring Grandma over to their place for dinner tomorrow. If it hadn't been snowing, Grandma Zhang would likely have come over directly. He helped Grandma to her room. The old lady was tired after such a long day. Mo Xian took out a cotton quilt, made the bed, and let her rest first. The 2 little ones were also getting sleepy and clamored to sleep too. Grandma wanted to hold the children close, so Mo Xian brought out another quilt, letting the 2 children sleep with Grandma in her bed. When he had settled them in and closed the door, he came out to see Luo Xia standing in his bedroom. "Your room is really simply furnished," Luo Xia said with a smile, sitting on Mo Xian's bed. The entire room, apart from a wardrobe, only had a desk, a chair, and a bookshelf. Besides study materials, there were some classic novels, a complete set of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and a dozen or so volumes of One Piece. "You and Miyuki can stay here tonight," Mo Xian pointed to his double bed. "It'll be a bit cramped for you, though." Luo Xia didn't continue that topic, instead taking Mo Xian's hand and saying, "The snow isn't too heavy right now. How about we go for a walk?" It was rather amusing, really. Mo Xian and Luo Xia had done all sorts of intimate things, yet it seemed they had never taken a quiet walk alone together. Snowflakes drifted from the sky. Luo Xia held Mo Xian's hand, walking slowly forward with him. This neighborhood was mostly populated by retired elderly people, and with it snowing at this time, there was hardly anyone around. Though it was daytime, it was very quiet, the sound of their footsteps crunching pleasantly on the snow. "It feels like this is the first time you and I have been alone together, so quietly." Luo Xia stopped, reaching out to gently brush the snow from Mo Xian's hair. "It feels like a date." This is a date, isn't it?" Mo Xian said, a little embarrassed. "Isn't this what couples do, walk together like this?" "Oh right, I almost forgot. Our little Xian is experienced," Luo Xia said meaningfully, deliberately emphasizing the word experienced. "When feelings deepen, do they also share a passionate kiss and then spend the night at a hotel?" I've never done that." Mo Xian quickly waved his hands. This is my first time. With you all." "Of course, I know. Your first kiss was with me." Luo Xia chuckled inwardly. Good thing she was clever enough to trick him out of his first kiss back, when he was easy to fool. That was before Mo Xian lost his memory. It seemed it was somewhere around here. Suddenly, she wondered, when exactly did she start feeling this way? Luo Xia herself couldn't say. Was it the first time she saw him sitting in a big tree, looking blissfully silly while munching on a melon? Or the first time she stole a kiss when he wasn't paying attention? Or perhaps it was when he was clearly injured but still bit the leg of the person chasing her, and Luo Miyuki. Like an injured cat, covered in wounds, yet still baring its fangs and claws to protect them. One thing she was sure of, emotion had become ingrained in her very being, her soul, impossible to remove. Back at the house, Grandma, who had been asleep, woke up at some point. She tucked the two little ones in, then took out her senior-friendly phone and went to the living room. She dialed the PIN number. After a long moment, old Master Mo's sarcastic voice came through. "Well, what made you think of calling me? Let's get a divorce," Grandma stated calmly. Silence on the other end of the line, but she could hear rapid breathing. "I don't have much time left. I really don't want to be buried as your wife." Grandma slowly sat down on the sofa. "Even in death, I don't want to be buried with you. It's better for both of us this way." "Fine." Old Master Mo practically spat out the word. "Let me tell you, if we divorce the assets..." "Old man, after all these years, do you still think money can threaten me?" Grandma chuckled. "I don't want anything of yours. I just want a divorce." "For that little thing, how long are you going to keep this up?" An angry voice roared from the phone, but Grandma's eyes remained perfectly calm. "You know, what I truly care about isn't whether you failed to maintain your integrity in your old age and became such a huge joke. Tell me, what does it feel like to watch a rose bloom, then wither and rot? That's how I've watched your heart become what it is, step by step. I try to persuade you. Countless times I want to turn you back into that blooming rose, but you insisted on continuing to rot. And how much longer will you hold a grudge against your brother? He's been dead for so many years. Just because of a birth date, you treat your own grandson with such cold disdain? Are you angry? Or are you guilt-ridden?" Grandma sighed, then said softly, "You and your brother. Just like Jinping and little Xian. Enough. Divorce. Let's get it over with quickly." With that, the call was disconnected. Grandma shook her head helplessly and placed her phone on the coffee table. People can be too stubborn, their hearts blinded by ignorance. Grandma slowly rose, her steps heavy as she walked back towards the bedroom. When Xian and Rosia got back, they brought groceries from a nearby supermarket. By the time they returned, Mookie had already arrived. She was sitting on the couch chatting with Grandma, and the coffee table was covered with all kinds of things, supplements, fruit, and more. "You're back." Grandma smiled and waved when she saw them. "Mookie just got here too, and she brought so many things." "Daddy." Two little balls of energy came running barefoot out of the bedroom the moment they heard voices. Shin quickly put the bags down and scooped them up into his arms. Mookie couldn't help rolling her eyes. She'd been here a while now, even had a cup of tea already. Yet these two little traitors hadn't even come out to greet her. Vera, Sherry, no, running around barefoot in the house, Rosia said, gently pinching their chubby cheeks. "Grandma, why are you up?" "I napped for a bit. Felt better, so I got up," Grandma replied, trying to stand. "You all sit. Xiao Xian, come help me cook." "It's fine. I can do it myself," Xian said, setting the girls down beside Grandma. "Vera, Sherry, why don't you keep Grandma company while Daddy cooks?" The two girls nodded eagerly, like little pecking chicks. Xian smiled and patted their heads before grabbing the grocery bags and heading to the kitchen. "I'll help too, bro," Mookie said, following him in. Thinking Rosia wouldn't notice, she suddenly grabbed Xian's shirt to pull him to eye level, ready to kiss him. Only for Rosia's hand to shoot out from behind, yank her sister's collar back, and sneak in to kiss Xian herself. "Sis, that's so unfair." Mookie, clearly annoyed, shoved her sister away and threw her arms around Xian's neck, kissing him hard. "Xian, you two having fun? My feelings just don't matter, do they? Then again, maybe they never did at times like these." "Knock it off. I need to cook," Xian said, nudging the sisters away. "The kitchen's not big, and you're not exactly going to be any help." "Says who?" Rosia smirked. "Why not let us try?" Xian seriously doubted either of them could cook. After all, back at the manor they had private chefs, and at home there were nannies and maids. As for him, he was the guy who always caved when his daughters or the sisters acted cute and ended up in the kitchen himself. In his mind, these two heiresses probably couldn't tell garlic from ginger. So when he saw Mookie washing vegetables with practiced ease and Rosia slicing beef and veggies with pro-level knife skills, he rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Did I wake up too fast? Or am I dreaming? They're actually good at this? What's wrong, bro? Mookie asked sweetly, clinging to his arm. Surprised? Now you've got not one but two rich, gorgeous women who can cook. Not bad, huh? Xian wanted to roll his eyes, but realized he had nothing to say. Among all the women their age in the capital, there really weren't any richer or more beautiful than these two. "When did you learn to cook?" he asked, genuinely curious. "How come I've never seen you do it before?" "We've known for a while. You know what they say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, Mookie said, gazing at him with her beautiful, doe-like eyes. Imo-Shin almost believed her. Then why don't you try winning me over that way sometime? How am I supposed to know if you never even try? I learned back then, but yours always tastes better, Rosea said, wiping her hands with a napkin Mookie passed her. Okay, Xiao-Xian, everything's chopped. Go cook. Imo-Shin still felt like they were pulling one over on him, but they shoved him into the kitchen anyway. After a while, he came out with 4 dishes and a soup, neatly arranged on the dining table, along with freshly cooked rice. He'd even picked up child-friendly utensils for the girls, worried they'd struggle with regular ones. Maybe it was the joy of eating with her great-granddaughters, but Grandma, who usually had a poor appetite, actually ate an extra bowl of rice and even finished a second bowl of soup. Grandma, it's not that I don't want you to eat, it's just eating this much at night, Imo-Shin said with concern. Grandma waved him off with a smile. What's the big deal? Watching Vera and Sherry eat just makes me hungrier. It felt like the good mood was contagious. The whole family was laughing, chatting, and eating together. Not only did Grandma eat well, but the 2 little ones also stuffed their bellies round and full. After dinner, Imo-Shin cleaned the table and brought the dishes to the kitchen. Just as he started washing them, Grandma slowly walked in and said softly, Xiao-Xian, take me to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow, will you? You? Imo-Shin looked at her, surprised. She and Grandpa had been living apart for years, and they could have easily filed for automatic dissolution of marriage. But neither of them had ever done it. I used to think it's fine like this. Out of sight, out of mind. We were married, after all, Grandma said lightly, her expression calm. But tomorrow, let's get it done. No need to bother Rosea or Mookie. It'd be awkward for them. Imo-Shin didn't say anything, just nodded. Grandma looked at her grandson and smiled. I see you so often now. I didn't realize how much you've grown. When you first got here, you were tiny, just like Vera and Sherry. Chubby and all. Grandma, are you okay? Imo-Shin tensed up. Ever since she insisted on being discharged from the hospital, he'd been on edge. Grandma smiled warmly, brushing off his concern. I'm fine. Go on, finish up. If you trust me, let the girls sleep with me tonight. With that, she turned and left. Her pace was slow, but she somehow looked more energized than before. That night, Imo-Shin wrapped himself in a blanket and slept on the couch. Rosea and Mookie took the bedroom, while the girls stayed with Grandma. Through the faint light of the street lamp outside, he could just make out the snow still falling. But Imo-Shin's mind was anything but calm. The more normal and peaceful Grandma acted, the more anxious he felt. Terminal lucidity. Just thinking those words made his chest ache, like a heavy stone pressing down. Suddenly, he heard the door creak. He looked up instinctively to see a slender figure approaching and pulling his blanket aside. Xiao-Xian. Rosea's voice was soft and gentle, but her movements were swift. She climbed onto him, pressing herself tightly against his body. Warm, soft, and carrying a pleasant scent. Rosea, what are you doing out here? Imo-Shin quickly pulled the blanket over her. Where's Mookie? He only meant to ask if Mookie was asleep, but Rosea's expression instantly turned cold, and she kissed him hard and possessively. I saw you were upset, and thought while Mookie's asleep, I'd come comfort you. Her voice was quiet, but Imo-Shin could sense the danger behind it. Still, hearing her words, he awkwardly muttered, No, I'm fine. In the dark, Rosea's hands gently traced his face, as if mapping his features by touch. After a moment, she let out a soft sigh. Xiao-Xian, you can lean on me. You can lean on my sister, too. I know you're hurting inside. You're scared something will happen to Grandma. I know you better than you think. You have me, and Mookie, and the girls now. You're not alone anymore. Suddenly, Imo-Shin wrapped his arms around Rosea's waist, his body trembling slightly. She felt hot tears fall on her hands as she held his face. In the darkness, Imo-Shin couldn't see Rosea's eyes, but he could feel her kissing away his tears. Unlike her usual possessiveness, her touch was tender, as if trying to soothe him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Imo-Shin held her tighter, curling up instinctively like a child, as if the snow had stopped at some point, and the sky had cleared. If not for the lingering snow on the ground, it would be hard to believe it had snowed at all yesterday. For Imo-Shin, his first thought upon waking up was, he'd definitely slept too deeply again. He remembered falling asleep holding Luo-Shia. So why was it Luo-Miyuki now sprawled across him? Luo-Miyuki gave a soft hum through her nose, like a contented cat, and instinctively nuzzled her head against Imo-Shin's face. Her dark hair brushed against his skin, making his cheek itch. Shin, are you? Grandma was walking out while speaking, but the moment she caught sight of the scene on the couch, she froze. Then she mumbled something and quickly turned back to her bedroom. I think I can sleep a bit more. Shin even heard the bedroom door lock behind her. If he didn't get up now, he wouldn't be able to explain a thing. Not that anything could really be explained. He gently shook Luo Miyuki, but whether she was faking it or truly asleep, the little demon didn't budge. Instead, she wrapped around him like an octopus, arms and legs locking him in place. Just then, the door creaked open and Luo Xia walked out of the room. She had already washed up and changed clothes. Though she wasn't wearing makeup, her beauty was still breathtaking. She walked straight to the couch, brows furrowed, and then smacked Luo Miyuki hard on the butt. Ow! Sis, what was that for? Luo Miyuki shot upright, her eyes wide and sharp. Get up. We gotta head to the office, Luo Xia said, arms crossed and voice cold. There's a meeting today. We'll come back after that. Instead of getting up, Luo Miyuki lazily stretched on Shin's lap. With central heating and air conditioning, the house was warm, and she was clearly in no rush. Can't we just let cousin handle it? She asked, still half curled on him. Luo Xia shot her sister a sharp look. He can't do everything. Besides, Shin's got plans today. He's helping watch the kids. Shin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was the CEO of the Luo group, but from the way the sisters spoke, he sounded more like a glorified assistant/manny. Luo Miyuki finally shuffled into the bedroom in her slippers. Shin was just about to get up when Luo Xia shoved him back down and kissed him hard on the lips. Last night, she had planned to use the bathroom and then squeeze onto the couch with him. But in that short window, Luo Miyuki had stolen her spot. Inside the bedroom, Luo Miyuki was changing and rubbing her sore backside. Her sister hadn't held back at all. By the time Shin had dressed, Grandma was already coming out of the room with the two sleepy girls in tow. Though they were still rubbing their eyes, they were neatly dressed, their hair done up into cute little pigtails. Daddy, carry us Luo Wire, and Luo Schwer wobbled over to him with arms wide open. Shin bent down and scooped them both up, one on each side. They each planted a big kiss on his cheeks. Seeing the warm scene, Grandma smiled. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, she turned back into the bedroom to search for something. She returned a moment later with a wooden box in her hands. Inside were two adorable ceramic dolls, two little girls holding lanterns. Grandma, what's this? Shin asked. It was his first time seeing them. I've never seen those in the house before. They were a gift from my mother. I've kept them all these years, Grandma said, eyes distant as if caught in a memory. She sighed, then smiled again. Let's give them to Wire and Schwer. I don't need them anymore, and they're not worth much. Dollies, the girls reached out eagerly, but Luo Xia stopped them. Grandma, better give them to me for now. They're still too young. If they break them. She carefully took the box and tucked it into her bag. Even though they didn't get to touch the dolls, the girls still chirped happily. Thank you, great-grandma. Shin had made some porridge, heated up milk, and cooked noodles. After breakfast, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki carried their daughters and prepared to leave for work. Given the situation, taking the kids along really wasn't an option. Though the girls pouted and resisted, their mothers weren't to be trifled with. In the end, they waved their tiny hands, eyes glistening, and said reluctant goodbyes to their daddy and great-grandma. Grandma stood at the door, watching them go. Strangely, she didn't look sad. Instead, she stepped outside, kissed the girls on their cheeks, and said cheerfully, Go on, go on. Don't be late for work. The sisters exchanged a complicated glance. Maybe we shouldn't go today, Luo Xia suggested, pulling out her phone. Oh, hush. Go on already. Grandma gently pushed them forward. Shin can keep me company. You girls just come back early. I'll cook something nice. No matter how much they tried to argue, Grandma wouldn't budge. In the end, the sisters had no choice but to leave with the kids. Once they were gone, the house fell quiet, leaving just Grandma and Shin. But Grandma seemed in high spirits. Rather than feeling lonely with the great-grandkids gone, she smiled and turned to Shin. I'm going to change clothes. We'll head out in a bit. Shin opened his mouth, but no words came out. Grandma went to the bedroom and came back dressed in clean clothes and a coat. She found her reading glasses, the household registry, and an old marriage certificate. On the cover, a much younger version of herself smiled beside a man, her late husband. His eyes had once been clear, his smile clean and gentle. What had that changed? When had he become calculating, paranoid, full of suspicion? She sighed, removed her glasses, and wiped the corners of her eyes. Then she pulled out an old handbag and tucked the documents inside. This is fine. This way's good. A peaceful smile crept onto her face. After all these years, love, hate, it all ends today. When she opened the door, Xian was already waiting outside, looking at her grandson, raised by her own hands. Now a man with someone to spend his life with, she felt a deep comfort in her heart. "Let's go, Xian," she said softly. "We're going to the civil affairs office." Meanwhile, sitting in the car, the old man stared at the marriage certificate in his hands, his expression unreadable. "Grandpa, are you really going through with this?" Ching asked from the front seat, glancing back at him. "Maybe Grandma's just upset right now. You don't have to. I never filed for divorce all these years because I kept hoping she'd come back around." The old man clenched his jaw. "But we've been fighting over nothing for decades. We hardly see each other anymore. And when we do, we just argue. Might as well get it over with." Ching had only pretended to dissuade him. In truth, she wanted this settled quickly. She had a meeting to attend. Now that the Yi family was finally lending her support, and her relationship with Yi Ning was public within the family, her chances of taking over the company had increased. She couldn't care less whether her grandparents divorced or not. The only reason she tagged along was the possibility of seeing Xian. Even though the people backing him hadn't helped last time, Ching knew the game well. Connections were everything. No matter how much she resented someone, she would never alienate a potential stepping stone. Anyone could be useful on a climb up. Stepping out of the car, the sunlight was a bit dazzling. Grandma couldn't help but raise a hand to shield her eyes. "This weather is really strange. It snowed yesterday, and today it's sunny with hardly any clouds," Grandma remarked, gently pushing away Xian's offered arm. "It's all right, it's just a few steps." Grandma is feeling quite energetic. Xian paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "Then you can make lunch for me. It's been so long since I've had your cooking, Grandma." Grandma shot him a glare and scoffed, but didn't reply. Inside the Civil Affairs Bureau, they saw the chauffeur supporting old Master with Ching beside them. Perhaps because the family had been dealing with too many troubles lately, Ching, despite her exquisite makeup, couldn't hide her exhaustion. When she saw Xian, she greeted him quite warmly, then walked over to Grandma and asked with concern, "Grandma, are you feeling better? Can't you tell? Why even ask?" Grandma replied coolly. Ching wasn't offended. Instead, she tried to support Grandma, but the old lady sidestepped her, a smile on her face. "I wouldn't want to trouble President Ching remained unfazed, her tone still gentle. "All right, I'll go get a number then." The Civil Affairs Bureau wasn't too crowded. People were there for marriages, for divorces, some joyful, some sorrowful. The two elders found an empty spot and sat down, facing each other from a distance, yet they remained silent. After a long while, old Master said to the chauffeur behind him, "You can wait for me in the car." With that, he turned to glance at Xian, unconcealed disgust in his eyes, his tone hardening. "Your grandmother and I have things to discuss. You should step out for a bit." Xian didn't answer, merely looked at Grandma. The old lady shook her head. "He's not an outsider. What could we possibly say that he can't hear?" But old Master clearly didn't think so. He irritably told the chauffeur, "Take him outside to wait." The chauffeur remained rooted to the spot, not daring to utter a word. "Drag Xian out?" He thought incredulously. "Old Master, what makes you think I could lay a finger on him? The man who single-handedly dealt with 8 bodyguards? You expect me to escort him out?" Old Master seemed to recall the previous incident as well, his expression turning ugly. When he looked back and saw Xian, hands in his puffered jacket pockets, calmly watching him, he felt even more stifled. To some extent, he had to admit that this youngest grandson of his was truly exceptional. But the more this was true, the more irritated he became, and the more he disliked him. Seeing Xian had no intention of leaving, he stopped talking, head bowed, lost in thought. As for Grandma, she just held her bag, her gaze calm, looking past her husband and out the window. Xian had expected Grandma to argue with old Master to confront him, to voice all the grievances from the years she had raised him alone. He wasn't the only one. Ching and even old Master himself had thought the same. But Grandma mentioned nothing. From waiting to receiving the divorce certificate, she remained remarkably composed. The 30-day cooling-off period was conveniently ignored for the sake of the plot. Several times, old Master wanted to speak, but seeing Grandma's serene expression, he swallowed his words. The old marriage certificate was replaced by a new divorce certificate. Grandma took it with both hands, opened it, looked at it, and a faint smile touched her lips. "Old man, I'll be heading back now." Grandma spoke as if bidding farewell to an old friend, her tone light. "Ching, Grandma's leaving." Mo Ching was taken aback, a little unsure how to react to Grandma's sudden change in demeanor. Meanwhile, old Master Mo, holding his divorce certificate, stared intently at Grandma, as if searching for something in her. But Grandma simply put the divorce certificate in her bag, turned, and left. Mo Xin said nothing, quietly following behind her. Only when they had walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and reached the car door did Mo Xin finally ask, "Grandma, is there really nothing more you want to say to him?" "Nothing." Grandma let out a long breath and glanced back. Old Master Mo was standing at the entrance, watching her and Mo Xin. Without any lingering attachment, Grandma turned and got into the car, not even sparing her former husband another glance. Throughout the journey, Grandma was very quiet, just sitting in the back seat looking out the window. A growing sense of unease spread in Mo Xian's heart. He even considered taking her to the hospital for a checkup. "Xiao Xian, let's hurry back. I'm a little tired," Grandma suddenly said. "Don't take any detours, just head straight home." Meanwhile, old Master Mo was still standing at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, his aged hand tightly clutching the divorce certificate, his thoughts unreadable. Mo Ching was annoyed. She had a lot of work to do and simply didn't have time to stand around here with him in the cold. "Let's go back." Old Master Mo put away the divorce certificate and slowly walked down the steps. His figure looked somewhat desolate from behind, but in Mo Ching's eyes, it only seemed hypocritical and laughable. "Don't tell me you're regretting it now," she thought. "That would be truly disgusting." "Take the old master back," Mo Ching instructed the chauffeur. Compared to accompanying an old man in his 70s getting divorced, company matters were far more important. After saying this, she didn't say anything further to her grandfather and walked off in another direction. In the end, Mo Xian took Grandma home. As soon as they entered, Grandma went into her bedroom by herself, arranging her pillow and quilt as if she were about to take her usual afternoon nap. After doing this, Grandma turned to look at Mo Xian, who was standing at the doorway with red eyes, and said with a smile, "When I wake up, dinner will be ready, right?" "Yes, when you wake up, dinner will be ready." Mo Xian didn't know how strained a smile looked just then, tears streaming down his face. "Grandma, you," as if his throat was blocked. Mo Xian couldn't utter a complete sentence. Grandma looked at her grandson one last time. It seemed there was nothing to worry about anymore. Though it was quite absurd, at least he had a child now, and two such outstanding girls liked him. What else was there to worry about? It seemed there was nothing left. "Oh, right, Xiao Xian, this is for you." Grandma seemed to remember something and took out a notebook from the bedside drawer. "I wrote this before I left the hospital. I didn't plan to tell you before, and now it doesn't seem important anymore." Mo Xian reached out to take it, but just as his fingers touched the notebook, Grandma's hand suddenly went limp and fell. Luo Corporation Building. Luo Xia, who was reviewing documents, felt her phone vibrate. When she saw the message, her gaze froze, her hand still holding a document, as if she had turned to stone. On the phone screen was a message from Mo Xian. "My grandma passed away." Although a part of her was also sad, what Luo Xia felt most strongly at that moment was, bizarrely, a surge of joy. "Grandma, please rest assured." Luo Xia opened a box and caressed the two ceramic dolls inside. "I will take good care of Xiao Xian. This way, Xiao Xian will be more helpless, more reliant on Mu Qi and me, right? Xiao Xian must be so heartbroken, right? I absolutely must go to him. From now on, he'll only have us." Luo Xia didn't want to smile, but thinking that Mo Xian no longer had any family to rely on, a morbid smile still appeared on her face. "Oh, and Xiao Xian definitely wouldn't want to see the Mo family. Don't worry, Xiao Xian, only we will be with you at Grandma's funeral." Muttering to herself, Luo Xia sent a message to Sister Hui with trembling fingers. At the funeral home, Mo Xian sat on a chair, his eyes vacant. The phone in his hand was open to a messaging app, the two pinned conversations at the top belonging to Luo Xia and Luo Myuki. He had already blocked all contact methods for the Mo family, except for Mo Ching. He had informed Mo Ching of their grandmother's passing, but he didn't expect any of the Mo family to show up. Whether they came or not didn't matter to Mo Xian anymore. After all, he and his grandmother now had little to do with the Mo family. Though he thought he was prepared, Mo Xian hadn't expected his grandmother to pass away so suddenly. When pushed to emotional extremes, people can become vengeful, and Mo Xian was no exception. He unblocked Mo Changshan and Qi Ni's numbers and called them one after the other. Mo Changshan didn't answer. Just as the call was about to disconnect, Chin and I picked up. Her voice held a note of surprise. What made you suddenly decide to call me? I have something to show you. Make sure to accept my friend request, Xian said, his voice hoarse and flat, then hung up. Chin and I paused, stunned. Before she could react, a friend request notification popped up. Xian sent her everything he had on Changshan in one go, then immediately blocked and deleted her contact information again. About 10 minutes later, an unknown number called. Xian hung up and blocked it instantly. He knew it was Chin and I, wanted to confront him. But what did that have to do with him? He could have shown her all this much earlier, but his grandmother was still alive then. Now, that last tie was gone. Since Grandma was no longer here, they wouldn't get to live comfortably either. Xian didn't even need to do much. Just sending over what he had would, he believed, make Changshan and Chin and I react in a way that satisfied him. When Luo Miyuki received Xian's message, she wasn't at the company, but at an art exhibition. Though she had indeed majored in finance in college, Luo Miyuki's true talents lay in painting and design. At the age of 20, a painting she personally created won an international award and fetched a price of nearly $1 million. The painting depicted a young woman leading a smaller boy and girl down a somewhat old-fashioned street. Not only was the technique exquisite, but the painting also exuded a sense of ease and tranquility, and the youthful innocence and joy of the three figures seemed to come alive under her hand, vividly presented before everyone. Luo Miyuki, dressed in a vibrant red gown, stood with a white cloth-covered painting behind her. But at this moment, her mind was entirely on the message on her phone. My grandmother passed away. Isn't this wonderful? Luo Miyuki murmured to herself, her eyes filled with an irrepressible joy and a strange excitement. Brother, now you have no one left to rely on, only us and our daughter. With this thought, Luo Miyuki turned to leave. Her assistant, following her, anxiously caught up, asking cautiously, "Second miss the exhibition." "Oh, you all could just stay here," Luo Miyuki tossed off casually. Then, lifting her skirt, she hurried away. An art exhibition? Compared to Xian, it was worthless. This was when Xian was at his most vulnerable. The thought of Xian's potential sorrow and brokenness made the corners of Luo Miyuki's mouth curve upwards in an irrepressible smile. "Brother, this way, you'll rely on us even more, and you'll never leave us." The female assistant wanted to say more, but seeing Luo Miyuki's bizarre expression sent a chill down her spine. She hadn't been with Luo Miyuki for long and didn't know many things. This was the first time she had seen Luo Miyuki look so morbidly obsessed and frantic. Watching her second miss leave, she felt helpless. Returning to Luo Miyuki's painting, a staff member approached anxiously, respectfully inquiring, "Is it all right to unveil Miss Luo's painting now?" Although the exhibition had just begun, other artists were already discussing their works with attendees. Luo Miyuki, however, had been staring at her phone since she arrived and had now left altogether. They couldn't afford to offend this second princess. Indeed, that this great personage was willing to exhibit her new piece here was already giving them considerable face. Not to mention the Luo family status in the capital, Luo Miyuki herself was a rising star in this circle. Though her works were few, each one had received recognition from renowned painters both domestically and internationally. The assistant, feeling rather helpless, could only nod and say, "Second miss had urgent company business. I will handle the follow-up." After speaking, the assistant carefully removed the white cloth with a staff member. Beneath it were two paintings. The moment they saw them, the assistant and the other staff members were utterly stunned. Luo Miyuki's paintings usually depicted serene afternoons or scenes under the setting sun, and her protagonists were always a boy, a young woman, and another girl. But today's two paintings were, in a word, unsettlingly bizarre. The first painting was set under a large tree. The boy was gone. Only the young woman and the girl remained, both dressed in black. This tree had appeared in Luo Miyuki's works more than once, but this time, the scenery was one of utter decay, the sky dim. The street in the background had turned into ruins. The once eternally lush tree was now bare, not a single leaf remaining, and under Luo Miyuki's skilled brushwork, it seemed on the verge of crumbling to dust. The second painting depicted two masked women in black gowns, flanking a man seated on a chair, holding him tightly in their embrace. The man's eyes were covered with a black cloth, his mouth with a mask. His hands and feet were bound by chains, which extended to entwine with the two women. The background was a vast expanse of red roses, interspersed with white ones. Even a layperson looking at these two paintings would find them indescribably oppressive. especially the second one, which exuded an inexplicable, suffocating atmosphere. Meanwhile, back at the funeral home, Mo Xian's phone suddenly rang. It was Mo Changshan. Well, if it isn't my ungrateful son, finally remembering. Before Mo Changshan could finish, Mo Xian cut him off coldly. Grandma passed away. Silence fell on Mo Changshan's end. But Mo Xian couldn't be bothered to exchange another word with him. Just as he had with Qin and I, he said flatly, "Remember to accept my friend request. I have something to show you. Send. Block. Delete." The Mo family was destined for a turbulent night. But what did that have to do with him? With Grandma gone, Mo Xian no longer had any obligation to help them maintain their facade of peace. On the contrary, he was going to add fuel to the fire. Xiao Xian. Luo Shi's choked voice snapped Mo Xian back to reality from his chaotic thoughts. He turned, somewhat mechanically, and looked at Luo Xia, standing beside him. Suddenly, Mo Xian broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. He clutched Luo Xia's waist tightly, burying his head in her embrace like a lost child, overwhelmed by grief and confusion. Luo Xia quietly held Mo Xian's head, gently stroking his back, her tears falling onto his hair, drop by drop. Yet, in her eyes, there was a flicker of unsettling excitement and an undeniable, hidden madness. At the Su family home, Grandma Su sat in her chair, gazing at a photograph in her lap, tears streaming down her face. Annie Zhang had just told her the news. Mo Xian's grandmother had passed away. It wasn't that Grandma Su hadn't tried to visit. She too was plagued by illness, each step an effort. When the weather turned cold, her joints ached. She never imagined she and her dear old friend would be separated by death like this, gone from this world forever. When Su Yanran entered, she saw her grandmother crying and was puzzled, but she still walked over and asked softly, "Grandma, what's wrong?" Mo Xian's grandmother passed away. Grandma Su didn't look up, her eyes fixed on the old photograph in her lap. In it, younger versions of herself and Mo Xian's grandmother, their hair and pigtails, beamed with wide smiles. "All right, you can go. I'm not in a good mood today. I'll have dinner in my room." Hearing this, Su Yanran froze. She knew how close Mo Xian's grandmother and her own had been. However, her mind raced to another problem. If Mo Xian's grandmother was gone, what about her plan? She had hoped her grandmother could put in a good word for her, but now there was no chance at all. "Grandmother, are you going to Mo Xian's grandmother's funeral?" Hearing Su Yanran's somewhat urgent question, Grandma Su sneered. "Huh, I don't have the face to go, and don't you ask me when it is. I won't tell you." "Grandma, that's not what I meant. After all, you've been friends for so many years. Besides, Mo Xian must be devastated right now. I just wanted to show him some concern." "Enough of that. Just focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Other things are none of your business," Grandma Su said bluntly. "You wanted me to put in a good word for you, and I kept putting it off. You're unhappy about that, aren't you?" "Grandma, I didn't mean that. Your health." "All right, Su Yanran, let me tell you straight today," Grandma Su interrupted. "What do you expect me to do? Go there, swallow my pride, and tell my old friend our Yanran was just momentarily foolish? Please be magnanimous, overlook her mistakes, and let your grandson marry her. You may have no shame, but I do. You've made a fool of yourself, and you expect me to be humiliated with you." Grandma Su showed her granddaughter no mercy, her tone caustic. "You're just regretting it, aren't you? With Mo Jinping being the rotten character he is, you're suddenly remembering how good Mo Xian was. And now he even has a child. You can't accept it, can you? The person who used to revolve around you suddenly won't give you the time of day. And don't waste your energy thinking about mending any broken mirrors. Even if his mirror is whole again, it's with the mother of his child. The mirror between you two was shattered to smithereens by you long ago." Su Yanran wanted to say more, but Grandma Su waved her hand impatiently. "Go on, get out. I just want to be alone for a while right now." Seeing this, Su Yanran couldn't say anything more. She turned and left her grandmother's room, her expression turning ugly. Often, what people call never forgetting is simply the bitterness of knowing that someone who once adored you, whose eyes were full of you, no longer looks your way. This bitterness was amplified for Su Yanran, especially when Luo Xia and Luo Muki appeared by Mo Xian's side. Or perhaps, it was a more toxic mindset. In terms of family background and appearance, the Luo sisters completely outshone her. Mo Xian could be with someone far superior to her. Yet she had chosen Mo Jinping, who was inferior to Mo Xian. Mo Xian had no interest in Su Yanran's thoughts. Luo Xia took him back to the manor, leading him by the hand into the bedroom. Go take a shower, Xiaoxian. Luo Xia gently caressed Xian's face. It's okay. It's all over now. Xian looked at her and managed a weak smile. For him, his parents during his childhood had been just a title, nothing more. In the most crucial part of his upbringing, his grandmother had always been by his side. And today, that person was gone forever. Luo Xia watched him quietly, then slowly took off Xian's glasses and placed them aside. She wrapped her arms around Xian's neck, but he turned his head away, a helpless smile on his face. Xia, I'm not in the mood. Whether it was kissing or anything more intimate, he couldn't possibly be in the mood for it now. But Luo Xia reached out, cupped his chin, and made him look at her. François de Sade once said, so-called pleasure is merely pain diluted with water. Luo Xia gently caressed Xian's face, her captivating eyes filled with an indescribable emotion. I know Grandma's passing has caused you great pain, Xiaoxian. I just want you to know you still have me, Miyuki, and the children. I once heard it said that most sorrow and pain can be forgotten through that kind of thing. Xian was momentarily speechless, then chuckled, reaching out to ruffle Luo Xia's hair. Where did you read that? Don't read such things. I care about you, Xiaoxian. Luo Xia said seriously, word by word. I don't want you to be sad, so I'm willing to do anything for you. I just want you to know, no matter who leaves you, Miyuki and I will always be by your side. Xian hugged Luo Xia tightly, burying his head in her hair. Tears seemed to fall on her shoulder. Luo Xia just gently stroked his back and said softly, what you need now is rest. I'll go light some incense for you. Go take a shower and then get some good sleep. Don't worry about the children. If you're not feeling well, Miyuki and I will look after them. When people are vulnerable, they tend to seek escape and develop a sense of dependency. Xian was in such a state at this moment. He was unwilling to accept the fact of his grandmother's death, and Luo Xia's tenderness made him feel dependent on her. When he came out of the shower, Luo Xia had already neatly made the bed and lit incense for him, but she was nowhere to be seen. And the scent of the incense today was also a little different. He lay in bed for about 10 minutes. Usually, the incense would make Xian drowsy, but this time, although he felt a bit groggy, it was as if he were dreaming. He even felt a warm sensation throughout his body. As he was in this dazed state, the door opened again. It seemed to be Luo Xia, wearing a pink plush nightgown, holding something in her hand he couldn't quite make out. Xian vaguely saw her extinguish the incense by the bed and then, it seemed, light another kind. Let me stay with you, Xiaoxian. Luo Xia's gentle voice sounded in his ear. A warm, dry towel was gently placed over Xian's eyes. His vision was obscured. The warmth from the towel was just right, making Xian feel much more relaxed. He felt a soft touch on his lips, accompanied by a familiar sweet scent. Forget all this, Xiaoxian. You only need us in your world. You don't need anyone else, not anymore. Just us. The gentle words, as if carrying a magical power, imprinted themselves one by one onto Xian's mind. I'm so flustered. Desire can truly be an addictive poison, especially when one's consciousness is muddled. Like a dream, so vivid yet seemingly not quite real. The scent of aromatherapy mixed with the pleasant fragrance of Luo Xia's body wash. Her soft body pressed close, and he could faintly feel strands of her hair brushing against his face and chest. Gentle yet greedy kisses started from his forehead, trailing down to his cheeks, lips, Adam's apple, then further down. His chaotic consciousness was gradually replaced by another sensation. Xian's mind went completely blank. Though dizzy, he couldn't sleep. Unlike the frenzy of the past, this time, Luo Xia was gentle, slow. She leaned close to Xian's ear, her breath as fragrant as orchids, whispering as if in a dream. You'll forget all your sorrow. With me, with Mu-Chi, we'll always make you happy. So, little Xian, you only need us in your eyes. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter who leaves you. We'll always be by your side. Even if we fall into the cycle of reincarnation, Mu-Chi and I will find you. Little Xian, no one loves you more than we do. No one, absolutely no one. These whispers, as if invading his soul, accompanied by that gentle sensation, seeped in Xian's mind bit by bit, like a blank sheet of paper slowly being stained with ink. Suddenly, the wind picked up outside. The weather had been erratic lately. The wind shook the branches, swaying them violently, as if venting some emotion. Finally, the wind died down, the branches slowly stilled, and everything returned to peace. Luo Xia came out after a shower, gently tucking Mo Xian in. A blush graced her cheeks, and her beautiful, almond-shaped eyes looked dewy and alluring. The sleeping Mo Xian seemed to sense it, subconsciously reaching out to grasp Luo Xia, as if unwilling to let her go. "See? You're slowly becoming unable to leave me. I know it," Luo Xia whispered, a strange smile playing on her lips. But she still caressed Mo Xian's face before gently withdrawing her hand. "Let's save some for later. Mu Qi is still here." Once, Luo Xia hadn't understood why she compromised with Luo Muqi. Was it because Muqi, like her, loved Mo Xian to the point of madness? Or because she was her sister? It seemed to be neither. It wasn't until Luo Xia saw one of Luo Muqi's paintings one day that she seemed to find an answer. That memory was something they had experienced together with Mo Xian. If either she or Luo Muqi were removed, the experience would no longer be whole for them. It had been the three of them from the start. Since neither was willing to back down, then let it continue as three. Worldly conventions, morality? As long as they could keep Mo Xian by their side forever, she cared little for such things. To make her family compromise, to be with Mo Xian for the long haul, she had endured much and sacrificed a lot. She wasn't the only one. Luo Muqi was even more so. Leaning down slowly, Luo Xia gently pressed her face against Mo Xian's, nuzzling him intimately. She didn't deny that what she was doing was despicable, taking advantage of Mo Xian's most vulnerable moment to advance her sister's plan. But she didn't care. She was confident that once the dust settled, even if Mo Xian learned the truth, he wouldn't leave them. Suddenly, the phone rang. Luo Xia's eyes instantly turned cold. She hated being disturbed when she was alone with Mo Xian. Seeing it was Sister Hui, the coldness in Luo Xia's eyes lessened somewhat, but her tone remained frigid. "What is it?" "Eldest miss, things are chaotic on the Mo family side," Sister Hui said, her voice tinged with confusion. "But we haven't made a move yet, have we?" After a lingering kiss on the corner of Mo Xian's lips, Luo Xia slowly stood up, pushed the door open, and walked towards the study, saying nonchalantly, "Little Xian must have done it, right? Grandma's gone now. He no longer needs to save face for Mo Changshan for Grandma's sake. Then, should we still?" Entering the study, Luo Xia slowly sat down in her chair and then said with a smile, "No need. Let them cause a ruckus. We still need to keep an eye on things, but for Grandma's funeral, I don't want to see a single member of the Mo family," nor Su Yanran. "All right, I understand." After Sister Hui replied, she didn't hang up immediately. Luo Xia frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" "Eldest miss, there's a question I've asked you before, but you never gave me an answer." Sister Hui hesitated for a moment before voicing her doubts. "You always said you didn't interfere, so mister. Mo could take revenge himself, but I always felt that you were intentionally letting the Mo family members be." "Yes, of course, it was intentional." Luo Xia caressed the necklace Mo Xian had given her, which rested on her chest. It seemed to have become a habit. Whenever Mo Xian wasn't in her sight, she would unconsciously touch the necklace, as if it brought her peace of mind. "Do you know how happy I was when I found out what little Xian's birth family was like?" Luo Xia's smile slowly turned somewhat peculiar. A despicable birth family, yet he had a good grandmother who taught him carefully. Such a person was destined to be incompatible with that kind of family. Besides, apart from Grandma, everyone in the Mo family is rotten. If not for blood ties, they wouldn't even be worthy of being little Xian's family. Selfish, biased, parents and relatives who abandoned him, versus Mu Qi and me, whom he hurt, but who don't care, who bore his children and are devoted to him heart and soul. Tell me, given his experiences, who would he lean towards? The more the contrast, the more the scales in little Xian's heart tip towards Mu Qi and me. Plus, back when Grandma was in the nursing home, they constantly harassed her for her shares, which only made little Xian despise them more. Keeping them alive is far more useful than letting them die. Besides, Grandma didn't want little Xian to take revenge on his own parents. He listens to Grandma, and I listen to him. Sister Hui felt her scalp tingle. She had considered many possibilities, but she had never imagined Luo Xia harbored such thoughts. She had always wondered, given the eldest Mrs. and second Mrs. obsessive love for Mo Xian, how could they possibly let the Mo family, who had hurt him, continue to exist? Using Mo Jinping's scheme to make Mo Xian feel guilty, then using their pregnancies and childbirth to leave Mo Xian with no reason to refuse them, they ensnared him step by step. On one side, a birth family devoid of warmth, even despised by Mo Xian. On the other, Luo Xia, and Luo Miyuki, whom Imo-Shien believed he had wronged in a drunken stupor. What was even more cunning was that, due to their family background and status, Imo-Shien would never suspect this was all a plot against him. The two esteemed young ladies of the Luo family, princesses of a conglomerate, influential figures in Kyoto's high society, scheming so much for Imo-Shien, a man estranged from his family, with only his grandmother by his side. Even if she dared to say it, others wouldn't dare to believe it, because it was too absurd. All right, you just need to keep an eye on the Imo family. Only Mu-Chi and I need to accompany Grandma on her final journey. Luo Xia seemed unwilling to say more. Also, Mu-Chi and I won't be going to the company for the next 2 days. Please take care of things with my cousin. Yes, I understand, eldest miss. Even if Sister Hui knew, she would never speak of it. Aside from her loyalty to the Luo family and Luo Xia's kindness towards her, she knew very well that for her eldest miss to say it so openly meant she wasn't afraid of others finding out. Luo Xia seemed to be in a good mood and wanted to go back to accompany Imo-Shien, but then she saw a figure enter Imo-Shien's room. Without a second thought, she knew it had to be her sister. Luo Miyuki gently closed the door, then slowly walked to the bedside. Having just come in from outside, she still carried a trace of chill, and because she had run straight from the art exhibition, she was only wearing a black down jacket. Looking at Imo-Shien on the bed, an irrepressible smile played on Luo Miyuki's lips. She gently caressed Imo-Shien's face. Her icy hand touched his warm skin, the sudden stimulus making Imo-Shien subconsciously turn his face away. But Luo Miyuki felt a mischievous impulse and slipped both her hands into Imo-Shien's collar to warm them. She had done this before, back in the winter when she first met Imo-Shien. Brother, you're so warm. Thanks to Luo Xia using drugged incense, and having exhausted him earlier, Imo-Shien was sleeping very deeply, but his body still couldn't help but shiver slightly. Looking at the man before her, whom she loved to the bone, Luo Miyuki suddenly recalled the first time she saw Imo-Shien. Having just moved there, away from her parents and school, Luo Miyuki inevitably felt sad. Uncle Zheng, who was responsible for taking care of them at the time, took her and Luo Xia for a walk nearby. For Luo Miyuki back then, everything seemed new, yet she couldn't muster any enthusiasm, until she walked under that big tree and saw Imo-Shien sitting in it, eating a melon. He was wearing a pair of Conan-style glasses and holding a novel, eating and reading with great relish. Luo Miyuki didn't know at the time that her own sister had also been captivated by Imo-Shien. For some people, a single glance at first sight might be destined to last an eternity. Sunlight filtered through the tree's shadow, falling on the still youthful Imo-Shien, as if he were painting. Luo Miyuki didn't know then that she would become a famous painter, or that every one of her future renowned works would feature the boy before her. Returning to her thoughts, Luo Miyuki slowly laid down on the bed. Just looking at Imo-Shien's sleeping face, she felt incredibly at peace. As if on cue, Luo Miyuki's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, her female assistant, with some disgust, then answered and asked coldly, "What is it?" "Second, miss, your paintings." "Oh, which ones are you talking about?" Luo Miyuki seemed to have just remembered she had 2 paintings at the exhibition. "Burn them. Remember to send me a video." Burn them." The female assistant sounded as if she hadn't understood. Luo Miyuki said, a little impatiently, "Yes, burn them. Are you kidding? Don't you know how much one of your paintings costs?" But Luo Miyuki seemed completely unconcerned. They were just casually put up for display, and she wasn't even afraid of Imo-Shien seeing them. "Second, miss, but someone has already inquired about the price of your paintings." Hearing this, Luo Miyuki couldn't help but sneer. "Have I fallen so low that I need to sell paintings?" The female assistant almost coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was over. She had finally managed to become Luo Miyuki's assistant, and this one sentence could cost her her job. The person inquiring about the price today might be older than Luo Miyuki, but definitely not wealthier. "All right, I understand, second miss." She didn't dare to persuade her further. Although she found it a pity, her job was more important. "Then I'll go burn them now. Rest assured, I'll record a video from start to finish to your satisfaction." After hanging up, the female assistant actually felt a little reluctant. Although the style of these 2 paintings was bizarre, Luo Miyuki's talent was undeniably astounding. The brushwork was delicate and vivid, especially in the second painting. Although the 2 women wore masks and their expressions couldn't be seen, one could feel their heavy, possessive love for the bound man just from their body language. She thought about it for a long time, but couldn't figure out what the painting meant. Luo Miyuki was different from Luo Xia. As long as she wasn't facing Imo Xian, Luo Miyuki would become somewhat moody and unpredictable. No one could tell when this second Mrs. Mood would sour. She was just an employee. Why worry so much? If she said burn them, then burn them. In a short while, Luo Miyuki received a video on her phone. The female assistant was very efficient. She had indeed recorded it from beginning to end. After watching it, Luo Miyuki casually transferred 20,000 and tossed her phone aside. Brother, Luo Miyuki looked at Mo Xian. Her eyes filled with unstoppable love, but even more so with a sick possessiveness. The curtains blocked the outside sunlight, making the room somewhat dim. With a very soft sound of clothes falling to the floor, Luo Miyuki, wearing only her underwear, slipped into Mo Xian's quilt. As if sensing her, Mo Xian, though still asleep, reached out and pulled Luo Miyuki into his embrace. The feeling was very different. It was as if he was afraid she would leave him, holding her tightly in his arms. Luo Miyuki paused for a moment. Then, with an inscrutable smile, she buried her head tightly in Mo Xian's chest, feeling his warmth, his scent. In contrast to Mo Xian sleeping soundly in a gentle embrace, the Mo household was in complete chaos. An enraged Qin and I returned home and began smashing things like a madwoman. Mo Yingying and Mo Tingting's tearful attempts to stop her were futile. Old Master Mo had locked himself in his room, doing who knows what, completely ignoring the absurdity outside. Mo Changshan, give me back my son's life. Qin and I, like a deranged woman, smashed everything she saw onto the floor. You made me raise your bastard child with someone else, and you even caused me to neglect my younger son. Are you even human? When Mo Changshan rushed back, he happened to hear Qin and I say this. With a grim face, he strode over and slapped her hard across the face. Mo Changshan didn't hold back any strength in that slap. Qin and I was knocked to the ground by it. Stunned for a moment, she got up to retaliate, but Mo Changshan gave her no chance, kicking her in the shoulder. Dad, are you crazy? Mo Ying and Mo Tingting tried to intervene, but Mo Changshan pushed them aside, straddled Qin and I, and rained slaps down on her face. The husband and wife, one on top and one below, one being slapped, the other fiercely scratching his face with her nails. Mo Ying and Mo Tingting, with great effort and the help of the family's housekeeper and driver, finally managed to separate the two. Mo Ying was completely at a loss and hurriedly called Mo Qingqing. Big sister, you have to come back quickly. As soon as the call connected, Mo Ying pleaded while crying. Mom and Dad have gone crazy. Are they fighting? Mo Qingqing sounded completely unconcerned, casually playing with a cigarette in her hand, looking as if it had nothing to do with her. I can't get away. I have a pile of crap at the company to deal with. You guys figure it out. Mo Qingqing chuckled playfully. Second sister, I advise you not to get involved either. With Mom and Dad's messy affairs, it wouldn't be an injustice no matter who killed whom. Mo Ying could never have imagined her eldest sister would have such an attitude. She wanted to say more, but Mo Qingqing had already hung up. Putting down her phone, Mo Qingqing opened a drawer and looked at the share transfer agreement she had bought from Mo Xian. Then, she lit the cigarette in her hand, her expression content. He really couldn't wait a moment, could he? Grandma just passed away, and he's already making his move. Mo Qingqing seemed very satisfied with Mo Xian's actions. I, for one, am curious about what my half-brother, Jin Peng, will do now. When Mo Xian opened his eyes, the first thing he felt was something soft in his arms, and a faint, pleasant fragrance lingering in the air. He froze for a moment, just about to sit up, when the person in his arms clung to him like a spoiled child and murmured softly, "Just stay with me a little longer, big brother." Huh, that didn't sound right. Even though his mind had been hazy earlier, Mo Xian clearly remembered that the one clinging to him before was Luo Xia, not Luo Miyuki. So how had it suddenly changed? What's wrong, big brother? It was winter, and the night had come early. Earlier in the afternoon, Luo Xia had even drawn the curtains for him so he could rest better. Now, in the darkness, he could only make out faint outlines. He couldn't see Luo Miyuki's expression, and that was probably a good thing, because while her tone was soft and gentle, there was something disturbingly off about her face. It's nothing. What time is it? Mo Xian reached out to fumble for his phone, but Luo Miyuki's delicate hand quickly pinned his down. Then, that light floral scent overwhelmed him again, and suddenly, warm, soft lips met his. French kiss, no less. Just stay a bit longer. There was something fragile in Luo Miyuki's voice, as if she were trying to hold back some overwhelming emotion. Xian could only sigh and stroke her hair helplessly. Okay, let's lie down for a little longer. His feelings toward Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki were complicated. He used to think it was guilt, a sense of obligation. After all, their family backgrounds were world apart. Back in school, he had seen Luo Miyuki, always the center of attention, a pampered princess surrounded by admirers. He had even witnessed guys trying to confess to her. One time, while on his way to get food, he saw a boy holding a huge bouquet, loudly proclaiming his feelings to Luo Miyuki. She had rejected him coldly, even cruelly. I don't like you. This is annoying. Then there was the second son of the Xiao family, who went even more over the top, flying in roses to pave the school paths, showing up in a Maserati with a ring and a necklace in the passenger seat. But she didn't even bother to appear. Xian, on the other hand, had been dragged by her to a hotel to play mobile games all afternoon. Back then, things between them hadn't been like they were now. Luo Xia was cold and distant like an iceberg. Luo Miyuki was proud and elegant like royalty. But with him, they were different. One was like a gentle older sister, the other like a clingy little sister. It was a strange feeling. Even before their relationship crossed the line, both women gave him everything emotionally. They tolerated him, supported him, leaned on him. Xian had always been starved for love. He never denied that. He longed to be loved, to feel needed. And that feeling was something he never experienced with Su Yanran. Before she met Mo Jinping, things between Su Yanran and Xian had never truly been balanced. He felt like he owed her his life, so he gave more, tried harder. At first, she responded, but gradually, she turned into someone who just took without giving anything back. Why so quiet, big brother? Luo Miyuki's voice pulled him out of his thoughts. He hugged her a little tighter, his voice uncertain, almost timid. I'm afraid this is all just a dream. That I'll wake up and none of it will be real. In the dark, Luo Miyuki smiled slyly. Xian couldn't see it, of course, but her actions were tender. She rested her cheek against his chest, listening to the beat of his heart. You're overthinking it, big brother. My sister and I will always stay with you, she whispered. You're just feeling extra vulnerable because of your grandma's death. That's why you're so insecure right now. Truth is, I've always been insecure, Xian admitted with a bitter smile. It was the first time he had opened up like this to either Luo Xia or Luo Miyuki. You and Xia are amazing. In every way. Almost unbelievably so. And me? I've got nothing. Sure, I've got money now, but compared to the Luo family, it's like a drop in the ocean. Especially now, with everything we've been through together, and this strange relationship we've developed. Sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming. Every day, I'm terrified that you'll both disappear. It sounds pathetic, I know. I used to think I wasn't good enough for either of you. I never even dared to hope. But now I'm scared of losing you. I used to have my grandma. The two of us depended on each other. But now, it's just you and Xia. And our girls. I don't even want to think about what I'd do if you two left me too. The only answer he got was a wild, desperate kiss from Luo Miyuki. In the secret room, off the study, Luo Xia slowly took off her headphones. Her eyes locked onto the wall, covered in photos of Xian. Her expression both obsessive and unhinged. Everything was going according to plan. Even the unexpected death of his grandmother had become a useful piece of the script. She switched off the surveillance equipment with a casual flick of her hand, then stood and gently caressed each photo one by one. A smile curled on her lips, growing more twisted by the second. Her eyes shimmered with madness. Meanwhile, in a bar in the capital, Mo Jinping was slumped over the counter, throwing back drinks like water, face full of despair. There was no going back home now. If he returned, Qin and I would definitely tear him apart. He'd thought about calling one of his 3 sisters, but he didn't dare. After all, they were Qin Mi's biological daughters. Now that everything had blown up, he was pretty sure even the sisters who once spoiled him wouldn't show him mercy. Montak Xuan, just thinking the name, made his eyes go wide with fury. Mo Changshan had told him it was Mo Xian who had sent Qin Mi's dirty secrets to the family. No doubt, he was also the one who told Qin and I everything. Now, Mo Jinping was a mess. Su Yanran had blocked him. The Mo family was likely in complete chaos. And the Qin family? They were definitely going to retaliate. His sisters would likely come after him too. I'm going to kill him. Mo Jinping growled through clenched teeth. But even if he wanted to, Mo Xian wasn't someone he could mess with. Not anymore. The guy had freakish combat skills. On top of that, he was being supported by some wealthy, powerful woman. Just thinking about Uncle Zhang's backing and how Mo Xian had dirt on every shady deal he'd ever done. It made his blood run cold. The more he thought about it, the more agitated he got. He reached for his drink again, but just as he brought it to his lips, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. It was his biological mother. "What?" he snapped, voice full of irritation. He hated the fact that he wasn't born from Chinese womb. If he had been, none of this would have happened. That resentment now extended to his real mother. But the voice on the other end wasn't hers. "Why so rude, little brother?" Mo Ching. The alcohol in Mo Jinping's system seemed to vanish in an instant. His voice tightened with anxiety. "Big sis. You. I want to meet. Come see me." Her tone was light, almost playful, but there was a hint of menace underneath. "No need for me to send the address, right?" Mo Jinping, despite having been drinking, sped off in his car towards his biological mother's place. A word of caution: don't drink and drive. If you drink, don't drive. A single drop for the driver can mean a river of tears for loved ones. Drunk driving is a menace to yourself and others. Mo Changshan had secretly bought an apartment for Li Yuzhen in a residential complex. Sometimes Mo Jinping would go there with him to reunite with his biological mother. From a young age, he knew he wasn't Qin's biological son. His two mothers treated him very differently. Qin and I, while favoring him, was still quite strict about certain matters. Li Yuzhen, on the other hand, was completely indulgent. The way Mo Jinping had turned out was inextricably linked to his biological mother's influence. Mo Jinping quickly reached the apartment door. Just as he was about to enter the code, the door swung open. A man he didn't recognize opened it. Inside the living room, another man stood to the side, eyeing him with hostility. Mo Ching was sitting calmly on the sofa, a cigarette between her fingers. "You're here." Mo Ching looked at him with a smirk. "Surprised, are we? I've actually known for a long time that we don't share the same mother. I just never brought it up. Where's my mom?" Mo Jinping ignored Mo Ching's remark, struggling to maintain his composure. But Mo Ching, unhurried, took a drag from her cigarette, exhaled slowly, and then chuckled. "She's in the bedroom, tied up by my men. And don't think I'm using her life to threaten you. With all the shady things you and your mother have been up to, I only need to reveal a fraction of it to ensure you'd be doing hard labor for a long time." Mo Jinping gritted his teeth, then pleaded, "Big sis, even though we don't share a mother, we're still half-siblings. Haven't you always doted on me the most since we were kids? Spare me this once. I'll find a way to leave with my mom, and I promise we'll never return to the Mo family." This was just a stopgap measure on his part. Mo Changshan and Qin and I were at each other's throats. Divorce was inevitable. Mo Xian had long since cut ties with the Mo family. He, Mo Jinping, was still Mo Changshan's only son. Even if Mo Changshan divorced Qin and I, the Mo family fortune would still be his. Mo Ching didn't answer him immediately. Instead, she took out a document, placed it on the table, and said flatly, "Sign it." Mo Jinping picked up the document, glanced at it, and his eyes widened. "You want my shares? Can't you read?" Mo Ching said sarcastically, crossing her arms. "I don't want to threaten you. You know your current situation perfectly well. Don't worry, I only want the shares. I'm not interested in the properties, cars, and other things Dad gave you, nor the money you've made on the side. Sign it now." The man who had opened the door had, at some point, come to stand behind him and shoved him impatiently. Mo Jinping was about to flare up, but recalling Mo Ching's words, he asked, still unwilling to accept it, "Big sis, are you really going to show no consideration for our past at all? That brain of yours. Honestly, if Mo Xian were the only one, I'd gladly give him the entire family business." Mo Ching sighed with feigned regret. "All these years, Ying and Ting might have genuinely seen you as their brother, but I never did. Being nice to you, giving you money, indulging you. It was all just to engineer your downfall through excessive indulgence. And you truly didn't disappoint. You're utterly useless. All these years, apart from the Su Yanran affair, which you handled surprisingly well, and everything else, compared to a total waste of space, you're only marginally better." A complete change from her usual tolerance. Mo Ching's tone was contemptuous, her words exceedingly harsh. "What do you mean?" Mo Jinping clearly hadn't recovered from this sudden change, his eyes filled with bewilderment. "Big sis, all these years you were so good to me. Could it be?" "That's right. I've been planning this since you were a child." Mo Ching seemed very pleased with Mo Jinping's expression, the smile on her face almost impossible to conceal. "Actually, I didn't think this way at first. But as you grew older and father paraded you around as if terrified people wouldn't know you were the heir, that's when the idea came to me." Mo Jinping stared blankly at Mo Chingching. It was the same face, yet somehow it looked utterly unfamiliar. The undisguised disgust and contempt in her eyes were a stark contrast to her previously concerned gaze. Previously, after Mo Chingching became CEO, she was rather cold to outsiders but treated him the same as before, which couldn't help but make Mo Jinping feel smug. His big sister truly saw him differently, he thought, especially when he got into some ridiculous trouble outside, and Mo Changshan and Qin and I were about to scold him. She would protect him, comforting him by saying he was still young and shouldn't worry about it. At the company, even if Mo Chingching had to work overtime herself, she would take over any difficult tasks for Mo Jinping. And she repeatedly reminded him that she was merely managing things for him, that the company would all be his in the future, and she would always be on his side. All right, I don't have time to reminisce with you. And Mo Chingching glanced at her watch, urging him impatiently. Besides, Dad will definitely give you his shares eventually. You won't lose out. And Mo Jinping was clearly still in a daze. And Mo Chingching frowned, nodded to the man standing by, who understood her meaning and clapped his hands hard. A woman's blood-curdling scream came from the bedroom, accompanied by the thud of a blunt object striking something. Mo Jinping's heart lurched. No matter what, that was his biological mother. Besides, seeing Mo Chingching's current demeanor, he feared she wouldn't hesitate to actually send him to prison. Trembling, Mo Jinping picked up the pen but still hesitated to sign. Another scream echoed from the bedroom. The man behind him, who had been staring at him, grinned. Young master, just sign it. If this gets ugly, it won't be good for anyone, right? His biological mother was in their hands, and Mo Chingching knew his secrets. Mo Jinping felt a wave of dizziness. In just one day, his good life had come to an end. I'll sign. His face ashen, Mo Jinping finally signed his name. Mo Chingching confirmed the signature, took the document, stood up, and left without a word. The two men who remained shot Mo Jinping a contemptuous glance, then walked to the bedroom and knocked on the door. Shortly after, a burly man carrying a club emerged, its tip stained with blood. Mo Chingching went downstairs, got back in her car, took out her phone, and dialed number. In a somewhat hurried tone, she said, "Tomorrow, sell all the Mo Corporation and Sheen Corporation shares I hold. Deposit the money into my own company's account as operating capital." The Mo family was said to have been given a new lease on life, but in Mo Chingching's eyes, disaster was inevitable. The reason she had turned the tide was merely so she could sell her shares for a good price in the end, and also to show old Madam Yi her capabilities. "Father, since you used me as a tool, don't blame your daughter for using you all as stepping stones." Mo Xian didn't know what the Mo family was like now, but from what he knew of them, they didn't even need anyone else. The Mo family could push themselves into the abyss all on their own. The cold Mo Changshan, the callous Qin and I, the vicious and scheming Mo Chingching, the self-proclaimed talented but actually pretentious Mo Ying, and the vase Mo Tingting, plus one senile old fool. Mo Xian suddenly had the urge to call his biological parents and ask them how they were feeling. But even if he tried, he probably wouldn't get through. That couple had put on a full-blown brawl. Qin and I was already hospitalized. Mo Changshan had struck her left ear until it bled, and her face was bruised and swollen. Where was the dignified appearance of the high-society lady she once was? As for Mo Changshan, he was also in hospital, his face covered in scratches. Even the doctor gasped in shock upon seeing him. In all his years of practice, it was the first time he'd seen a man scratched up like this by his own wife. From beginning to end, old Master Mo had only appeared once. After a glance at the utter chaos and mess downstairs, he had gone back inside, his thoughts unknown. "Dad." Mo Ying's voice was hoarse, her eyes red and swollen. After all this turmoil, she was completely at a loss. Mo Chingching seemed to find her annoying. After Mo Ying's second call was hung up on, she couldn't get through again. Her eldest sister had blocked her. Hearing his second daughter's call, Mo Changshan merely glanced up before lowering his head again, lost in thought. "Dad, is what Mom said true?" Mo Ying asked, looking at her father with a hint of despair. "That Jinping is your child with someone else, and that younger brother back then. You caused his death. Are you questioning me?" Mo Changshan's voice suddenly rose several degrees. The doctor and nurse nearby couldn't help but steal a few more glances at the disheveled Mo Changshan. No wonder his wife had clawed him up so badly. Anyone else would have probably stabbed him by now. Mo Changshan, likely feeling awkward, got up, pulled Mo Ying outside, and said in a hushed voice, It's a misunderstanding. Jinping is your brother. Don't overthink it. Of course he was. Even as half-brothers. Mo Ying just felt like the Mo family had been cursed lately. Trouble with the company, Mo Jinping, and Mo Tingting in trouble, and now this. Mo Tingting was indecisive, and she herself wasn't much better. Mo Qingqing, the one who could usually take charge, had suddenly washed her hands of everything, and Grandpa hadn't even shown his face. She suddenly thought of her grandmother, but how could she know her grandmother had already passed away? Only two people in the entire Mo household knew. Mo Changshan and Mo Qingqing. One had no intention of telling, and the other was now so consumed by anger that she could even push the death of her own mother to the back of her mind. How ridiculous! Even Grandma Su and Su Yanran knew, yet their own family was still kept in the dark. Mo Changshan clearly didn't want to discuss his scandal. He just told her to hire a caregiver for her mom, and after getting his wounds treated, he turned and left. As he walked, he called Li Yuzhen, but there was no answer. Watching her father leave, Mo Ying suddenly felt that this family was truly finished. Perhaps it should have ended long ago. It had just been missing a spark. Mo Xian, there's still Mo Xian. Suddenly remembering the younger brother who had cut all ties with the family long ago, Mo Ying unexpectedly felt a rare pang of shame. Should she go find him? Find Mo Xian, who had long lost all affection for this family, the one they had personally pushed away. She didn't have a nerve. While she was still feeling down, Mo Tingting called. The sisters were taking turns looking after their parents. Mo Tingting's career was utterly ruined. The contract termination fees, covered by her own earnings supplemented by the family, were more or less paid off. However, the family's attitude towards her had taken a sharp downturn, and Mo Changshan had even forbidden her from leaving home to prevent further embarrassment. To think the reason she was out now was because of something like this. Second sister, Mom's surgery is over. Mo Tingting's voice trembled uncontrollably, whether from grief or fear, it was hard to tell. Her left eardrum ruptured. There's nothing they can do. Mo Ying sighed, tears falling drop by drop onto the floor. After a long moment, she finally asked, so what now? She's in the ward now. They gave her a sedative, and she's asleep. Second sister, where's eldest sister? Without her, we have no one to rely on. Mo Ying didn't answer. Eldest sister? Who knew where eldest sister was? After hanging up, Mo Ying hurried to the hospital room. Because they had paid for a VIP room, there were no other patients, and Mo Tingting had taken off her mask. In the past, she'd been afraid people wouldn't recognize her. Now, she was terrified they would. In the hospital bed, Qin Mi's face was pale and bruised, her hair slightly disheveled. The once glamorous female, CEO, now looked so wretched and unsightly. You should go back. Dad's gone who knows where. Eldest sister is unreachable. It's not convenient for you to be out. Mo Ying said, sitting by her mother's bedside and looking at her. I'll stay here and watch over her. Tomorrow, have Annie Wong come and take over for me. I still have to go to the company. With Qin and I absent, someone had to be at the jewelry company. Besides, Mo Ying had her own selfish motives. Since her mother wouldn't be at the company for a while, she could find a way to completely oust Jiang Sifeng. Mo Tingting didn't know what Mo Ying was thinking. Considering her current reputation, it was better to go home than to stay. Nodding, Mo Tingting was about to leave when she suddenly turned back and asked Mo Ying, second sister, are we going to tell Mo Xian? Mo Ying paused, then gave a bitter smile. Tell him for what? Do you think he'd care? But we're still family, after all. Mo Tingting couldn't continue. Family? Who had ever treated him like family? At least for those past few years, they certainly hadn't. Mo Changshan drove away from the hospital, continuously trying to call Li Yuzhen. Just as he was growing frustrated, Mo Jinping's call came through. Dad, Mom's been hospitalized. Mo Jinping's anxious voice came over the phone. It was eldest sister. Eldest sister knew about you and Mom all along. With a sudden slam on the brakes, Mo Changshan's face turned incredibly ugly. He gritted his teeth and asked, after your eldest sister went there, what else did she do? She brought people to threaten me, made me sign over my shares to her. Slamming his hand hard on the steering wheel, Mo Changshan felt a wave of dizziness. Mo Qingqing had known all along. Could it be that she told Mo Xian and they had joined forces? He frantically hung up and called Mo Qingqing. Unexpectedly, she answered readily. What's wrong, Dad? Mo Qingqing's tone was light, sounding as if she were in a very good mood. Mo Changshan suppressed the frustration and anger in his heart, trying to speak calmly. Ching, what exactly are you trying to do? Seize power, of course. Ching sneered. But now, things are different. My shares, Jinping's, Xian's, and my stake in Qin's jewelry. I've sold them all. The buyer was lined up long ago. Xian's? Your grandmother's 10%. Don't you think if you'd been a bit more generous back then, you would have saved yourself a lot of trouble? Hearing Changshan's agitated tone, Ching couldn't help but laugh, but her laughter was malicious, as if mocking him. By the way, don't expect me to intervene again. The Yi family will have nothing to do with you from now on either. Qing. Changshan roared, his body trembling with rage. Good, very good. I've truly raised a fine daughter. Naturally, don't I have you to thank for where I am today, father? You know very well how much effort I put into the company. But in the end, you still want to give everything to Jinping. Not just the family's assets. You were even scheming for Jinping to take over Mom's jewelry company as well. You certainly doted on him. But how much effort did I put in? Who was responsible for the company's rising profits? Who enabled you, the chairman, to sit so comfortably in your position? Dad, since you made the first move, don't blame me for retaliating. Only what's in my own hands is a true asset. Everything else is just an illusion. With that, Ching, not caring at all what Changshan had to say, hung up the phone directly. Rebellious daughter. Ching, you dare to plot against your own father. Changshan, with no time to think about anything else, started the car to head to the company, simultaneously making frantic calls to his subordinates, telling them to gather at the office. But he was too agitated, his attention completely scattered, and he failed to notice he had run a red light. Changshan was still giving instructions to his subordinate when a truck, unable to brake in time, slammed directly into his car. Friendly reminder, stay focused while driving, and don't use your phone. Xian didn't wait long. He held the funeral the very next day, cremating his grandmother and laying her to rest. It wasn't that he was heartless. His grandmother had told him before that when she couldn't hold on any longer, he should just cremate her and bury the ashes. She didn't want all the fuss. When his grandmother was a university professor, she had meticulously taught many students and had numerous colleagues. But Xian didn't notify anyone. The old lady had told him, "It's best not to tell anyone. I'll be gone. There's no need for a crowd to come and mourn me." In truth, Xian knew she just didn't want others to grieve her passing. If anyone was to grieve, he, her grandson, was enough. After all, she was the one who had raised him. Besides the family, probably only Grandma Su and Grandma Zhang knew of his grandmother's passing. Grandma Su called Xian, saying she wouldn't attend, nor would she let any Su family members go. "I don't have the face to go." That was Grandma Su's reason, though Xian no longer cared. In fact, if it hadn't been for his grandmother's death, prompting him to call Grandma Su, he wouldn't even have thought of Su Yanran. But for Grandma Su, this was a monumental issue. Xian didn't dwell on it. After all, he knew Grandma Su wasn't in good health, suffering from severe arthritis, and it was best not to trouble her in winter. As for Grandma Zhang, she had cried so hard over his grandmother's passing that, being elderly, she fell seriously ill. Xian called Aunt Zhang, offered some comfort, and told them to prioritize taking care of Grandma Zhang. So, this funeral, as simple as it could possibly be, was attended by only 3 people, Xian, Luo Xia, and Luo Myuki. He didn't let his daughters come either, telling them to wait at home. Throughout the entire process, Xian didn't cry, nor did he speak, merely staring blankly at his grandmother's body. "Xiao Xian." Luo Xia gently tugged his hand. "Are you okay? Why don't you rest for a bit? It's just the 3 of us here. Myuki and I can handle things." "I'm fine, really." Xian managed a faint laugh, but tears slowly began to fall. Though called a funeral, the entire event consisted mostly of Xian kneeling before his grandmother's body in a daze, with Luo Xia and Luo Myuki accompanying him from behind. Setting aside his missing memories, Xian's childhood recollections with his grandmother played out in his mind like a film reel. His grandmother was kind, but also strict, and possessed a stubborn streak. When her surgery was over, Xian had wanted to take a leave from school to care for her personally, but she had berated him fiercely. "You? Take a leave from school? You've already gone and had children, 2 of them, with 2 different mothers. And with the Luo family, no less. They didn't hold you accountable and even gave birth to your children. How are you ever going to repay that debt? Focus on your studies and take good care of your children." Sighing, Xian lowered his head, tears falling as a bitter smile played on his lips. His grandmother had tried to intervene in the Mo family's current state, but no one listened. Perhaps, aside from him, her grandson, who was used to her nagging, no one in that family was willing to hear another word from her. He had found her annoying as a child too, but gradually he understood that while his grandmother might nag, be stern, or say harsh things, she would never harm him. Finally, he reached out to smooth his grandmother's silver hair, his tears slowly falling onto her face, which looked as if she were merely asleep. Although he hadn't expected any of the Mo family to come, he was still struck that not a single one of them had actually shown up. Mo couldn't help but sneer inwardly. However, he didn't know what had happened yesterday. Both his parents had been hospitalized, one of their 3 daughters was trying to sell off family assets, and the other 2 were frantic with worry. Even without these incidents, with Luo-She and Luo-Miyuki's capabilities, they could have ensured no one from the Mo family would be able to attend. Having already given up on them, Mo-She naturally had no expectations, merely finding the situation laughable. After the cremation, a person was reduced to a small urn of ashes. He left with the urn, and after the final burial, everything was settled. Mo-She was suddenly reminded of a line from Nostalgia, which, adapted to his own situation, would be, "Nostalgia is a low, small grave. I am on the outside. Grandma is within." Xiao Xian. Brother. Luo-She and Luo-Miyuki called out in unison, rousing Mo-She from his stupor. "It's all right, it's all over now." Luo-She comforted him gently. "You still have us, don't you?" Mo-She didn't answer, merely nodding slightly. He looked at the smiling photo of his grandmother on the tombstone and couldn't resist reaching out to gently wipe it clean. For his grandmother, everything was over. But for Mo-She, it was not yet finished. As he was lost in thought, a scarf was suddenly wrapped around his neck. Luo-She and Luo-Miyuki stood before him. Luo-She had personally put the scarf on him. "It's cold, so I brought a scarf for you," Luo-She said, looking into Mo-She's eyes. "You can stay as long as you want. Miyuki and I will stay with you." "No, let's go back." Mo-She took one last look at the photo on the tombstone, sighed softly, and turned to leave. But he hadn't gone far before the 2 sisters flanked him, each taking one of his hands. Isn't this a bit inappropriate?" Even though they were at a cemetery, Mo-She was still worried about being seen. They, however, didn't seem to care at all, pressing closer to him instead. "It's cold. Brother is warm." Mo-She looked at them helplessly and could only let them be. Meanwhile, Mo Tingting was in a completely different state of mind. Mo Ying had gone to the company, and only then did Tingting learn that their eldest sister had actually sold all her shares in Qin Corporation. Mo Ying had no choice but to go. Mo Changshan was in the ICU with multiple severe fractures all over his body and a critical head injury. The doctors told her he had been revived, but his survival was uncertain. One of the couple was still unconscious in a VIP room, and now the other was in the ICU. An old Master Mo, who hadn't appeared until now, finally showed up. Seeing his only son in such a state, the old man fainted from overwhelming distress. "Third sister, are you the only one here?" While Mo Tingting was still lost and helpless, Mo Qingqing, who hadn't been seen, finally appeared. Seeing her father's current condition, a flicker of sadness finally crossed Mo Qingqing's eyes, but only for an instant. "Eldest sister, where on earth have you been?" Mo Tingting cried, throwing herself into Mo Qingqing's arms upon seeing her. I don't know what to do. Dad, Mom, and Grandpa are all in the hospital." "I know, isn't it obvious?" Mo Qingqing really didn't want to deal with her younger sister. "Which room is Mom in? There's something important I need to discuss with her." "I'll take you." Mo Tingting started to lead the way, but stopped after a couple of steps, saying awkwardly, "Dad can't be left alone here, eldest sister." "Maybe. He's not awake, is he? Do you think he'll wake up just because you're here?" Mo Qingqing grabbed her arm. "Take me to our mom first. My business is important." When Mo Qingqing entered the hospital room, Qin and I was already awake, holding her phone and staring intently at the screen. "Mom, are you feeling any better? Why did you sell your shares?" Mother and daughter asked simultaneously upon seeing each other. Mo Qingqing paused for a moment, then smiled. "I didn't want them anymore. I need the funds myself. It's as simple as that." "You need funds?" Qin's eyes filled with suspicion. Then she suddenly sneered. "What? Did that beast of a father of yours get his company into trouble, and now you're rushing to bail him out?" "I sold my Mo Corporation shares too," Mo Qingqing said in a very casual tone as she sat down. Hearing her words, Qin's pupils constricted. She actually sold her Mo Corporation shares too. "Mom, let's be frank. Our family is finished. Mo Qingqing's tone was as if she were stating something perfectly ordinary. If the Yi family hadn't taken an interest in me, do you think the Mo family could have survived? Originally, Mo Qingqing had planned to take sole control of the Mo family. But then, as bad luck would have it, the Mo Qingqing incident happened. Even with the Yi family's help, Mo Qingqing knew it was just a temporary reprieve, a mere struggle for survival. A footwear and apparel company suffering continuous incidents. Money can be replenished, but if its reputation is gone, everything is gone. A family company with such a troubled future, better to discard it and focus entirely on herself. She was adept at seizing opportunities. She used the window when the Mo family was barely hanging on to sell all her shares. Her escape route was a company she had secretly founded in advance. Of course, she wouldn't tell Qin and I any of this. From the moment she started scheming, she had abandoned any sense of family affection. The Mo family environment produced two extremes. Mo Xian, who grew up with his grandmother and developed a gentle, talented disposition, and Mo Qingqing, raised by her parents in the Mo household, who learned their selfishness and indifference, even surpassing them in ruthlessness. Mo Xian was an excellent learner. Mo Qingqing was ruthless and a schemer. Had the family relied on either of them, they might not have reached this sorry state. But alas, that couple made the poorest choices. Then why did you sell the shares I gave you? Qin and I couldn't help but ask. Your father is finished. And as for my side, Mom, how long do you think you can hold on? Montag King Zeit Zuftli. Your marriage to Dad was always a union of interests. The Mo and Qin families have always been mutually dependent. If Dad can't hold on, I'm afraid your side will be finished too. What nonsense are you spouting? Qin and I retorted, flushing with anger and embarrassment. My side hasn't been affected that much, hasn't it? I've seen your financial reports. Ever since the counterfeit jewelry incident, your profits have been steadily declining. Mo Qingqing said with feigned regret. I was just cutting my losses. With money in hand, I can start a new business. You know my capabilities. Qin and I bit her lip and said nothing. Mo Qingqing wasn't wrong. After the counterfeit jewelry scandal, her company's reputation hadn't been good either. So, Mom, don't blame me. I have to secure my own future. You wouldn't want the Yi family to look down on me, would you? Mo Qingqing stood up. I have things to attend to. Mom, you should figure out how to deal with Mo Jinping. He still holds some of your shares. Mo Changshan wasn't dead yet, after all. Even if he died, 9 times out of 10, he'd have leaving things to Mo Jinping. Her objective was achieved, so it was time to pull out. As for the current mess the Mo family was in, she wouldn't meddle. Mo Jinping would squander it all in a few days. As for leaving Mo Jinping with shares in the Qin Corporation, she didn't want her mother to notice her subtle maneuvers too quickly. Let her mother and her once favorite son fight it out. This current situation was the best outcome for her. As long as she made good use of the Yi family, Mo Qingqing was confident she could climb even higher. Perhaps she might even seize the opportunity to gain control of the Yi family. After all, Yining was just a decorated pillow, all show and no substance. Before Qin and I could ask more, Mo Qingqing left again. Just as she left, Mo Tingting came in. However, she didn't ask what her mother and older sister had discussed, but instead said mysteriously, Mom, guess who I just saw? Who? Qin and I asked, instinctively looking up. Mo Tingting replied nervously, Mo Xian. Mo Xian himself hadn't expected it. His biological grandfather, who had never contacted him, suddenly called him from someone else's phone. And Mo Xian told him directly. Grandmother had passed away right after divorcing him. Come to the hospital. Old Master Mo's voice was somewhat weak. There's something I want to ask you. For Mo Xian, it was indeed a trip he had to make. After all, it was time for some closure. Mo Xian didn't go to see Qin and I, nor Mo Changshan. Instead, he found out old Master Mo's hospital room, carrying the notebook his grandmother had left him. Pushing open the door to the hospital room, old Master Mo was already awake and sitting up in bed, a caregiver attending to him. Seeing Mo Xian enter, he nodded to the caregiver. The caregiver understood and turned to leave, giving the two of them some privacy. Your grandmother. Did she have any last words? Hearing this, Mo Xian suddenly laughed. Do you think she would have had anything left to say to you? Old Master Mo fell silent. Mo Xian placed the notebook in his hand on the bedside table, then pulled up a chair and sat down, maintaining a certain distance from him. You asked me to come? Don't tell me it's because you regret things now. Mo Xian looked at the incredibly haggard old man before him, feeling not a shred of sympathy or pity. All these years, you've been waiting for grandmother to bow her head, to forgive you for a momentary mistake. You felt it wasn't your true intention, so why wouldn't she understand? He paused, then asked with feigned politeness, "Am I correct in saying that?" Old Master Mo glanced at him, then lowered his head again, remaining silent. After a long while, he finally spoke, his voice hoarse and his eyes reddening. She was too stubborn. So many years of marriage, and over such a small thing, Then what would constitute a big deal? Did you commit murder or arson? Mo Xian's tone grew cold. You've known grandmother's temperament for a long time, haven't you? And do you really think it was just about this one thing? Mo Xian pointed to the notebook. Among the things grandmother left for me, there are some I should tell you. Do you remember when you two went to see Gone with the Wind together, back in the day? Hearing the title, Old Master Mo's pupils dilated instantly. Once, the very first movie he and grandmother had watched together was Gone with the Wind. After all these years, if Mo Xian hadn't mentioned it, he would have long forgotten. He never imagined grandmother would still remember. Scarlett O'Hara said, "After all, tomorrow is another day." But at the end of the movie, when Rhett Butler left heartbroken, and Scarlett said those words, I wonder if she ever considered how much disappointment Rhett must have accumulated to make him choose to leave. Old Master, grandmother gave half her life. Ask yourself honestly, was it really just about this one thing? Old Master Mo was rendered speechless by Mo Xian. He tried to open his mouth several times, but couldn't utter a single word. Grandma really missed the you from back then. She told me that when you first met, you weren't like this, Mo Xian said with a bitter smile. Grandma described the old you beautifully, sunny, kind, considerate. With all due respect, I can't see any of that in you now, at least. Seeing Old Master Mo remain silent, Mo Xian took a deep breath, leaned forward slightly, and slowly began. So, it's all because of your younger brother, isn't it? Hearing the words, younger brother, Old Master Mo's shoulders trembled. He suddenly looked up at Mo Xian, and his previously dim eyes burst with an inexplicable hatred. Looks like I was right, Mo Xian smiled. Grandma told me everything in her final notes. So, just because I was born the same month and on the same day as your dead brother, you've been treating me like this, disgusting me. You think it was just the same month and day? Old Master Mo scoffed. He was born at noon, and you were also born at noon. Your eyes and brows looked very similar to his when you were born. I kept telling myself it was a coincidence, that it wasn't real, but your behavior before you were 2 years old was too much like his back then. You walked earlier than other children, you talked earlier too. You were smart, quick to learn. My brother was exactly like you back then. Mo Xian sighed, slowly straightened his posture from leaning forward, and then spoke calmly. Is that all? Isn't your behavior after growing up enough? Old Master Mo seemed trapped in some obsession, his cloudy eyes showing a hint of madness. My brother was like you back then, excellent in his studies, always ranked first. And you're opposing Jinping. Do you have any shame? Mo Xian laughed out of sheer anger. Am I opposing him, or is he opposing me? What? You killed someone but refused to admit it, so you've developed persecutory delusions. As the words killed someone came out, Old Master Mo froze as if a pause button had been pressed, staring blankly at Mo Xian. Mo Xian looked at his biological grandfather, feeling only sorrow and absurdity. His past mirrored that of Mo Xian and Mo Jinping. One brother ordinary, the other gifted. But his parents weren't blind, nor did they do anything good. Blatant parental favoritism is always a sharp blade, and the shadow of his younger brother had shrouded him from childhood to adulthood. In that era, going to university was a matter of great honor for the family. Old Master Mo worked hard and barely got into an ordinary university, but when it was his brother's turn, he got into Capital University, just like Mo Xian. Compared side by side, his achievements seemed insignificant. And this kind of thing never stopped from the birth of his younger brother until they grew up. Although he held some resentment towards his brother was gentle by nature, and he knew his brother never intended to compete with him for anything. Grandma also knew you since you were young. She always knew about your affairs. And Mo Xian sighed. After reading Grandma's notes, I suddenly felt quite bored. Perhaps you really did love Grandma. From the lines in her writing, the you from back then was truly full of her. Glancing at the notebook, Mo Xian slowly reached for it and casually flipped through it in his hands. After Grandma's surgery, she became particularly sleepy. She slept 2/3 of the time in a 24-hour day. Moreover, she had brain surgery. This kind of writing wasn't suitable for her condition at the time. Mo Xian looked at the notebook in his hand. Grandma's handwriting was sometimes neat, sometimes somewhat messy. You thought no one knew about what you did back then, but you never considered Grandma, your lifelong companion. Everyone thought your brother's fall was an accidental stumble, that he fell down the stairs and hit his head. In fact, you pushed him, didn't you? I didn't mean to. Old Master Mo's voice suddenly rose several octaves. He didn't stand steady himself. You can't blame me. Xian had once read a story about a person who spent their entire life searching for something, only to find when they finally found it that it was nothing special. It wasn't so much that they were searching for the thing itself, but that the obsession in their heart was at work, blinding their eyes and making them fixated on one thing their whole life. Stories are just stories, but what real people do is often more absurd than stories. Grandma told Xian the truth in her notes. Although the Mo family didn't have the deep roots and strong foundation of a family like the Luo family, they were quite wealthy at the time. Regarding the matter of inheritance, Old Master Mo's younger brother voluntarily gave it up. He didn't want to compete with his older brother, nor was he interested in the family business. When Old Master Mo married Grandma, he was arguably full of youthful ambition, marrying the person he liked since childhood, inheriting the family property, and his parents finally started to take him seriously because of this. However, Old Master Mo's abilities were mediocre. The family business under his management was neither particularly successful nor failing, not good, but not bad either. Grandma felt this was enough. Starting a business is hard, but maintaining one is even harder. But Old Master Mo's parents didn't think so, especially after Old Master Mo made a mistake and lost some money. It wasn't actually a lot. It's impossible to only profit in business. But they were convinced they had chosen wrongly and clamored for their second son to return and inherit the family business. That time, Old Master Mo completely lost control and got into an inexplicable argument with his brother. No one saw what happened, but his brother somehow fell down the stairs, hit his head, and died despite rescue efforts. Grandma thought it was an accident, but unexpectedly, while sharing a bed, Old Master Mo spoke nonsense in his nightmares. Piecing things together, Grandma finally learned that he had emotionally pushed his brother, causing him to fall down the stairs and hit his head on the wall. From the time your brother died, you changed. You became eager for quick success. You started doing things you previously wouldn't do, attending social events you didn't want to attend. You actively went Xian through the notebook onto the bed. See for yourself. Grandma wrote a lot in here. There's a line in here I find quite apt. Watching your former beloved, like a blooming rose, slowly wither, rot, and no matter how hard you try, how much you water it, you cannot change this outcome. Hearing Xian's words, Old Master Mo suddenly cried, like an old ape wailing, suppressed and somewhat despairing. Grandma had said this to him once before she died. Grandma wrote in her notes that you changed from that time, becoming fixated on profit, even resorting to unscrupulous means. You did everything you didn't want to do before, and you were tireless in attending unwilling social events. Before that one absurd incident, how many times did you frequent places of pleasure? You probably don't remember yourself, right? But Grandma remembers how many sleepless nights she spent at home, remembers how many times she advised you, remembers trying countless times to pull you out of the mire. But was it useful? You kept walking further and further down the path you chose. Xian finished speaking and stopped, watching his reaction. Old Master Mo stopped wailing, his eyes empty as he looked at the notebook on the bed. With a trembling hand, he picked it up. This wasn't me saying it. Grandma wrote it down pen by pen. Xian shook his head with a bitter smile. I also understand why you resent me. Back then, when you sent me to Grandma's place, you, your son, and your daughter-in-law, each of you had your own agenda. Only you might have had a shred of conscience, thinking that with me, your grandson, by her side, Grandma wouldn't be too lonely. But mostly, it was that you didn't want to see me, didn't want to be reminded of the brother you pushed down. Or perhaps, you yourself were wondering if the Mo family would be better off if your brother had taken over, and you wouldn't have to play act and feign courtesy with those people in the world of fame and fortune. Old Master suddenly looked up at Xian, his eyes clouded. After a long time, he slowly opened his mouth. Yes, your grandma was right. From then on, after my brother died, I threw myself into the business. Every now and then, my parents would say it might have been better if you were alive. So I started using all sorts of methods to develop the Mo family business. Your grandma kept advising me, but I turned a deaf ear. My brother's death not only dealt me a huge blow, but also trapped me in a cycle. I kept thinking it was better without him, but every time I succeeded, I would start comparing myself to him, and then remembering that I killed him, I would feel fear and guilt, and start thinking it was right that he wasn't here. After you were born, the pressure felt even more suffocating. So I resented you. As for sending you away back then, I admit I didn't want to see you, and I still don't want to see you even today. I said I sent you there to make trouble for your grandma, but she was living in a dormitory building with no relatives by her side. I just thought that if you went, at least she'd have a grandson nearby, so she wouldn't be too lonely. As for your grandma, nothing I say matters anymore. She advised me countless times in this life. We started arguing from the time your father was born, and the youthful affection we once had turned into mutual dislike. She was right. From the moment my brother died, my heart rotted. Your grandma did everything she could all these years. She didn't wrong me, much less this family. A person who constantly pursues wealth and status gradually forgets why they pursued these things in the first place. The family business grew bigger and bigger, and I changed. Pausing for a moment, old master Emo suddenly laughed a few self-mocking laughs. Do you know what my brother told me the last time I saw him? He had already applied to become a volunteer teacher and didn't know when he'd be back. He told me he really wasn't cut out for business and didn't want to do business. But I had just lost a sum of money, and my parents had provoked me again, so I lost my temper at him. He came to advise me, and in a fit of anger, I pushed him. I didn't notice the stairs behind him, and he wasn't prepared. He fell and hit his head directly on the wall. The door suddenly opened, and Chin and I, supported by Mo Tingting, walked in quickly. Seeing Mo Xian, Chin's eyes were filled with surprise, even some wariness. Don't be nervous, Ms. Chin. I haven't said anything yet. Mo Xian shrugged. I've asked what I needed to ask and said what needed to be said. Anything else has nothing to do with me. Mo Xian, something happened at home. Your dad is in the ICU. Does that have anything to do with me? Mo Xian directly interrupted Chin and I. I've already severed ties. You shouldn't be looking for me if something's wrong. Mo Xian turned back to Old Master Mo. You said so much just now. I only have one question for you. When you saw Mo Jinping harming me, what did you think? Old Master Mo froze, looking at Mo Xian somewhat numbly, unsure how to answer. Actually, your heart towards me is no different from Mo Jinping's, except you had a seemingly valid reason, while he just purely wanted to force me away. Your brother gave up the family business, choosing to be a volunteer teacher and giving everything to you, and you got angry at him. In essence, that's the same principle as Mo Jinping provoking me repeatedly. He didn't want me to compete with him in the Mo family, and you didn't want to let go of the family business you had gained. That's the core of the issue. The only difference is that Mo Jinping didn't succeed, and you did. That's the biggest difference. What Grandma truly wanted to save you from wasn't your killing your brother, but hoping you wouldn't abandon your former self for profit. That's why she compared you to a rose. As for the reason you rotted, it wasn't because of your brother's death, but the greed and desire brought by that family fortune. Don't get emotional. This isn't what I'm saying. I don't understand you. This is what Grandma wrote in her notes. This was her deepest pain and despair in the end. In comparison, you're standing by and doing nothing during her surgery isn't even that important anymore. A rotten rose emits a foul smell. Isn't that inevitable? After Mo Xian finished speaking, ignoring Old Master Mo's pale face and trembling body, he turned and walked towards the door. After thinking for a moment, he turned back and said, Old Master, from today onwards, we will never meet again. Not just me, but Grandma too. With that, he pushed the door open and left, while Old Master Mo coughed up a mouthful of blood and fainted amidst Chin and I and Mo Tingting screams. After leaving the hospital, Luo Xia and Luo Muki were waiting for him in the Maybach. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mo Xian said apologetically after getting into the car. I didn't expect him to look for me. As it happens, I gave him what I needed to give him. It's okay. Aren't you going to see him again, brother? Luo Muki asked curiously. He's your grandfather, after all. No. Chairman Mo is in the ICU. I don't know what happened, Mo Xian said with a wry smile. Talk about swift retribution. My own mother also looked bruised and swollen, wearing a hospital gown. All three heads of their family are actually hospitalized. Luo Xia and Luo Muki exchanged a look. The sisters, intimately familiar with each other, read the same message in each other's eyes. Neither of them was responsible. One could only say that Mo Changshan was truly unlucky. No one had even done much to him yet, and he'd managed to land himself in the ICU. Xiaoxian, perhaps you should still go see them, Luo Xia said in an extremely gentle tone. They're your biological parents, after all. Even though they treated you badly in the past, favored Mo Jinping. And then there was the Su Yanran incident, and they just stood by and did nothing when Grandma. But they're still your family, aren't they? Luo Muki got goosebumps listening. Her sister was using the gentlest, most considerate tone to say the most instigating words. Sis, how did I never realize you were so skilled in the art of green tea? It was also thanks to Mo-Shin being a bit of a dense, straightforward guy that he didn't immediately pick up on the fragrant tea in Luo-Shia's words and calmly said, "No need. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with me. No need. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with me. That's right, it has nothing to do with you. All you need is us in your heart." Luo-Shia and Luo-Miyuki gazed at Mo-Shin with infatuated, almost crazed eyes. When he looked up, they quickly returned to their usual expressions. Why does it always feel a bit strange? Mo-Shin seemed to have noticed an unsettling gaze just now, but when he looked up, Luo-Shia and Luo-Miyuki were looking at him just as they always did. "Oh, by the way, brother, you're in a bad mood. How about you come with me to my art studio to hang out?" Luo-Miyuki said with a smile. "I happen to need a model. Will you be my model, brother?" "Huh? Me?" Mo-Shin was a bit awkward. Luo-Miyuki had never actually asked him to her studio before. He himself was a bit slow when it came to such things, and Luo-Miyuki didn't usually talk to him about her art. In the past, she preferred to just play games with him. "Go on. Miyuki actually told me about this in the car earlier," Luo-Shia said with a smile. "In fact, Miyuki has a painting she's been wanting to give you." Mo-Shin suddenly felt quite embarrassed. Although he usually took care of the two sisters in daily life, he had never helped them much with their work. He had no interest in finance, focusing all his energy on his own field of study. He certainly couldn't paint and knew very little about art. Yet, they were very supportive of his profession. His own program had been taken by Luo-Shia and sold through the Luo Corporation. When he first wrote that program, Luo-Shia and Luo-Miyuki had been his biggest supporters. Mo-Shin hadn't noticed that his reliance on and affection for Luo-Shia and Luo-Miyuki were growing ever stronger. After his grandmother passed away, he had even slowly begun to trust only them, unable to trust anyone else. Visiting Luo-Miyuki's art studio for the first time, Mo-Shin couldn't help but think with a touch of sarcasm. So this is the simple, unadorned, and dull life of the rich. What art studio? It was clearly a villa, not too far from the manor where they lived. It just didn't have much everyday furniture. The living room did have a TV and sofa, along with some famous paintings, ancient and modern, Chinese and foreign. Luo-Miyuki had works by many famous artists here. Mo-Shin didn't know how to appreciate them, but he felt they were definitely authentic. Luo-Miyuki's usual painting room was on the second floor. It looked like two rooms had been knocked into one, with floor-to-ceiling windows opening onto a spacious balcony, offering excellent light and views. Only one painting hung in the center of the entire room. When Mo-Shin saw it, he was captivated. Two women in white gowns, their long black hair flowing, embraced a man seated on a chair between them, one on each side. The gowns were as pure white as wedding dresses. The man's hands tightly held theirs, a smile on his face. The two women gazed at him tenderly, their eyes filled with affection and love. Both the poses and the figures in this painting were extremely similar to the painting of three figures Luo-Miyuki had burned. But unlike the oppressive, heavy atmosphere of that painting, this one exuded a warm, gentle feeling. The background no longer featured red and white roses. It was entirely white. This, Mo-Shin was stunned, because the three people in the painting bore a strong resemblance to them. Luo-Miyuki's skill was excellent. She had depicted the faces of all three with great detail. "This is your gift, you know." Luo-Miyuki smiled. "Actually, it's part of series. But that's not important anymore. Brother, all that matters is that you see this current painting." Luo-Shia stood to the side, silent, just staring blankly at the painting. The exhibition wasn't open to the public, and photography was prohibited, which was why Luo-Miyuki had displayed the other two paintings there. She had asked Miyuki why she didn't exhibit this one too. Miyuki's reply was, "This one is only for brother and us to see." They were morbid, paranoid, and crazy, yet they wanted Mo-Shin to see only their beautiful side now. As for the previous paintings of the three of them, Luo-Miyuki had actually shown them to Mo-Shin before, but he'd had no reaction, merely saying they were nice. The two paintings Luo-Miyuki took to the exhibition. The one under the large tree was painted after she had shown Mo-Shin a painting of two people. Without the boy from her memories, the tree was withered, the street scene dilapidated. As for the second painting, it depicted their true state of mind, wearing masks to deceive Mo-Shin, binding him to themselves with chains. Luo-Miyuki's personality was different from Luo-Shia's. She had a somewhat malicious streak, like a mischievous little demon. For those who had previously seen the beauty she depicted, she deliberately showed them how dark the ending could be. She succeeded. Many who came, drawn by her fame, felt incredibly conflicted after seeing those two paintings. To describe it, it was like a manga that ends a sweet, idyllic story with a knife plunged straight into your heart. Luo Miyuki's paintings had always been warm, serene, and full of beauty, so this stark contrast was jarring. She did it on purpose, and Mo Xian wouldn't know anyway. The sisters could wantonly harm and trample on anyone other than Mo Xian. They were never good people, nor did they ever consider themselves to be, but they loved Mo Xian, loved him to the point of madness. For more than 3 years, they had indeed suppressed their craziness and possessiveness, but their kindness to Mo Xian was genuine. What Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki had always been working towards was ensuring that even if Mo Xian knew about all their wickedness, he couldn't leave them. "Brother, do you like it?" Luo Miyuki looked at Mo Xian with sparkling eyes, like a child waiting for praise. Mo Xian couldn't resist reaching out to stroke her face, saying gently, "I do. I like it very much." Then, "Brother, hurry up and take off your clothes so I can paint you, okay?" "Wait, aren't they wearing clothes in this painting?" Before Mo Xian could react, Luo Xia was already skillfully taking off his black down jacket. "Xiao Xian, this is for art." "That's right, brother. Art is always like this." A wail from Mo Xian echoed in the art studio. In the hospital room, old master Mo coughed up mouthfuls of blood. Lying on the bed, his gaze slowly began to lose focus. Mo Xian's final words seemed to have ripped away his last pretense. The pain from his parents' favoritism was real, and so was the shadow cast by his younger brother. But it was also true that his mindset had changed after he inherited the family business. His parents' partiality towards his younger brother became an insurmountable chasm in his heart. Yet he, too, had ultimately been overcome by desire and greed. Grandma had lamented his experiences, but was heartbroken by his later transformation. Because of his influence, even Mo Changshan, who had initially been well guided by Grandma, eventually became like him, only worse. Especially after he met Li Yuzhen. An unhealthy first love had completely changed Mo Changshan. If the upper beam is crooked, the lower ones will naturally be askew. He could no longer clearly hear the sound around him. It seemed to be the crying of Qin and I, and Mo Tingting, and doctors and nurses rushing about. His whole life flashed before his eyes like a fast-forwarded movie. He saw himself as a lonely child, treated differently by his parents. He saw the hard-working, down-to-earth young man he once was. He also saw himself slowly being corrupted by money and power, becoming greedy and selfish. Everything seemed to flash back, finally freezing on the image of a young girl with braided pigtails, seen from behind. "Oh, well, old dear." He recognized her as the young grandma, and called out weakly. But her retreating figure grew more distant, eventually disappearing. From beginning to end, she never looked back at him, not even once. Just as Mo Xian had told him, never to meet again. Back in the art studio, Mo Xian managed to keep his clothes on in the end. Just as Luo Miyuki was instructing him on how to pose, his phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Mo Xian, what did you say to your grandfather just now?" As soon as he answered, Qin Mi's voice, choked with tears, came through, loudly questioning him. Mo Xian rubbed his ear, which was ringing from her shout, then said resignedly, "What could I say? Just some things Grandma told me, things I thought he should know. You unfilial son. You angered your grandfather to death." Qin and I burst into tears as she said this. Old Master Mo's resuscitation had failed. He had passed away. "Oh, is that so? I'm heartbroken," Mo Xian said indifferently. "By the way, Ms. Qin, when you entered the hospital room earlier, didn't you see the mourning band on my arm?" "What do you mean?" Qin and I faltered. "You're your grandmother." "Yes. She was just buried today," Mo Xian sneered. "I'm hanging up, Ms. Qin. Don't contact me about the old man's funeral. I don't have time, and I don't want to go." With that, Mo Xian hung up and immediately blacklisted the number. After a moment's thought, he unblocked Mo Jinping's number from his blacklist and dialed it. Good, he hadn't been blacklisted yet. As soon as the call connected, before Mo Jinping could speak, Mo Xian said coldly, "Let's meet Mo Jinping." "What do you mean?" Mo Jinping, who had just left the hospital and checked into a hotel, was utterly exhausted. His biological mother, Li Yuzhen, had one of her legs broken, and he had hired a caregiver for her. No one from the Mo family had contacted him yet, and he didn't dare reach out to anyone other than Mo Changshan. Unfortunately, his own father, the only one he could contact, had his phone turned off, He had only deleted Mo Xian's contact information, but hadn't blocked him. So when he saw an unknown number, he answered, never expecting Mo Xian to call him at a time like this. Don't you fucking tell me you're calling me now to get revenge for Su Yanran. Mo Jinping's voice was loud, almost as if he was losing his composure. After all, with so much weighing him down recently, Mo Jinping was, in fact, on the verge of breakdown. Mo Xian moved the phone away from his ear again. As expected of someone raised by Ms. Qin, he thought, they even have the same habit of yelling into the phone. But Mo Xian overlooked a crucial detail. Luo Xia and Luo Muki were sitting beside him, and as luck would have it, they had overheard Mo Jinping's words. Mo Xian couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. The temperature in the room seemed to have dropped several degrees. Not far from him, Luo Xia and Luo Muki's faces were like frost, their eyes glinting with a dangerous light. For Su Yanran, Mo Xian wanted to see Mo Jinping to get revenge for Su Yanran. Mo Xian, completely oblivious to the sister's strange demeanor, just looked down, fumbling with his coat. Sorry, I wouldn't even dream of getting revenge on you for her. She's not worth my time or energy. The sisters' gazes softened slightly, but their eyes remained fixed on Mo Xian, like hunters intently watching their prey, afraid it might escape. Suddenly, an amusing idea flashed through Luo Xia's mind, and a slow smile curved her lips. Silently, she took out her phone and sent a message. Mo Jinping didn't want to meet Mo Xian, not to mention his current downtrodden state. What good could come from Mo Xian seeing him? Unwilling? Then forget it. Montag Suanzeit. To be honest, I wasn't particularly keen on seeing you either. Let me guess, you probably don't know yet that your dear father is in the ICU and the old master just passed away, right? Hearing Mo Xian's words, Mo Jinping felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. Mo Xian had no reason to lie about something like this. If Mo Jinping wanted to find out, he just had to shamelessly call Mo Ying or Mo Tingting. And the fact that Mo Xian dared to say it proved it was true. So what? You must be gloating right now, huh? Mo Jinping's voice trembled incessantly. Though his tone was harsh, his face was drained of all color. Not that Mo Xian could see it, of course. Nothing to gloat about. I just wanted to see what state you're in, Mo Xian said calmly. But on second thought, it's rather dull. Mo Jinping, if I were you, I'd be thinking about how to deal with Ms. Qin. It might sound ridiculous coming from me, but Ms. Qin was at least decent to you in the past. Now that your dear father is in the ICU, and she's been deceived by you all for so long, do you think she'll let you off? After a pause, Mo Xian suddenly chuckled. Mo Jinping, you know Ms. Qin better than I do. You've witnessed her cold-heartedness towards me for so many years. How do you think she'll treat you now? Mo Xian's words pierced Mo Jinping's heart like a nail. His own mother, Li Yuzhen, and Mo Changshan had conspired to switch him with Qin Ni's real son at birth. That was bad enough, but to prevent any accidents, Li Yuzhen had even cruelly killed that infant. Ms. Qin probably wished she could devour the three of them alive. And at this very moment, Mo Changshan and old Master Mo, whom he could have relied on, were no longer options. Mo Jinping suddenly thought of a very important issue, the evidence of his and Li Yuzhen's illegal activities. Mo Xian might not know about Uncle Zheng's matter, but that didn't stop Mo Jinping from suspecting Mo Xian was behind it. Mo Qingqing also had some. If Ms. Qin found out about this, she would undoubtedly send him to prison without a second thought. Think about it carefully. Ms. Qin also has her own illegitimate son. You've seen how she treated me, her illegitimate son. All these years, Mo Xian continued, fanning the flames. I guess you probably know about this by now. I've said all I need to say, young Master Mo. If you don't make a move, forget about the Mo family having nothing to do with you in the future. You might not even have your life. With that, Mo Xian hung up. Meeting Mo Jinping wasn't important at all. His objective had been achieved. Mo Xian might not understand human nature all that well, but he understood the Mo family perfectly, having witnessed their selfishness and indifference for so many years. So he knew Mo Jinping wouldn't just sit back and wait for doom, and Ms. Qin definitely wouldn't let him off. Since it was a dog-eat-dog situation, letting them bite each other even more viciously wouldn't be a problem. Brother, you've learned to be bad now, Luo Muki said with a smile, draping her arms around Mo Xian's neck. So, you didn't want to get revenge on Mo Jinping for Su Yanran's sake? She asked, seemingly casually, but the sisters' gazes were somewhat intimidating. How could that be? Mo Xian quickly waved his hands, looking a little flustered. None of this has anything to do with Su Yanran. If it were just because of her, I wouldn't have done anything at all. We know, just teasing you. Luo Xia walked over, chuckled softly, and ruffled Emo Xian's hair. Let's talk about the painting next time. The girls are waiting at home. Shall we go back and have dinner with them? After saying that, Luo Xia seemed to remember something and said softly, Oh, right, Xiao Xian, there's a reception tomorrow. Why don't you come with us? You don't have to show your face. It's at a hotel. I'll have them arrange a room for you in advance, and you could just wait for us there. Emo Xian glanced at Luo Xia with some surprise. As the vice president of Luo Corporation, social engagements were unavoidable for her. However, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki rarely seemed to attend such receptions or banquets, let alone asking him to go with them. Even though he wouldn't have to make an appearance, he still couldn't understand why. Because we can't avoid this one, so we have to go. Besides, Luo Tian is hosting it, Luo Xia explained. But Miyuki and I find them incredibly boring. We usually book a room beforehand, make a round of appearances, and then hide out there until it's over. All right then, I'll go with you. Emo Xian nodded. Just then, Luo Xia's phone vibrated. She glanced at it briefly, put it away, and reached out to pull Emo Xian up. Let's go, it's time to head back. Meanwhile, Sister Hui, who was at the company, sent the message and then looked at the invitation card in her hand. The still-lit screen of her phone showed her chat conversation with Luo Xia. For tomorrow's reception, send an invitation to the Su family. You can skip others, but Su Yanran must come. Understood, eldest miss. When Su Yanran received the invitation, she could hardly believe her eyes. Our vice president instructed this to be delivered directly into Miss Su's hands. The woman delivering the invitation was dressed in a black suit, her expression blank, her tone flat. Also, this is from our vice president from Miss Su. She'll understand what to do once she sees it. A black USB drive was placed on Su Yanran's desk. With a brief goodbye, the woman turned and left. The reception hosted by Luo Tian was an exclusive event. Only those at the very top of their social circle could get in. The Su family, though wealthy, wasn't qualified. Su Yanran stared at the white invitation before her. It felt strangely conspicuous, and she didn't even dare to pick it up. Sis, you're something else. The office door swung open, and Su Yanran's older brother, Su Jiuzhe, walked in excitedly. An invitation to the Luo family's reception. So many prominent families and businesses in Kyoto can't even beg for one. And today, it was delivered personally to my little sister. When did you get connected with the Luo family? If we can collaborate with this top conglomerate, our family's future will be completely different. Su Jiuzhe said excitedly. Oh, right. I remember Luo Miyuki went to Kyoto University, just like you. Do you two know each other? Su Yanran couldn't help but give a bitter smile. Know her? She'd rather not. Emo Xian definitely wouldn't get back together with her now. And Luo Xia, while saying she'd give her a chance, had done nothing more than forbid her from breaking off the engagement with Emo Jinping, with no follow-up since. She picked up a USB drive and looked at it, puzzled. Seeing Su Yanran's silence and noticing the USB drive in her hand, Su Jiuzhe asked curiously, Is this also from the Luos? Yeah, brother. Could you leave me alone for a bit? Su Yanran said, sounding weary. This reception. Su Yanran, who had been about to say she didn't want to go, hesitated, then bit her lip and said, I'll go to the reception tomorrow. If I can achieve a collaboration with the Luo family, that would be even better. She herself found her words somewhat laughable. Luo Xia had given her these two things for a reason, but she really couldn't figure out what she was supposed to do. Su Jiuzhe wanted to say more, but seeing his sister's state, he sighed and turned to leave. As he reached the door, Su Jiuzhe suddenly turned back and said, Yanran, the Mo family contacted Dad. Old Master Mo has passed away. And Aunt Qin said your engagement with Mo Jinping is called off. Su Yanran looked at her brother in surprise. Su Jiuzhe also looked puzzled. Don't look at me. I don't know either. Dad never really thought much of Mo Jinping, so he agreed without asking too many questions. Su Yanran said nothing. Since Luo Xia had threatened her not to break the engagement, she couldn't be blamed for this now. Could she? She felt little emotion regarding old Master Mo's death. She had only met him a few times. Besides, her own grandmother disliked him, believing he had wronged Mo Xian's grandmother, so she didn't like him much either. Thinking of this, Su Yanran gave a self-deprecating smile. Her grandmother had vehemently opposed this ill-fated relationship with Mo Jinping. But back then, she had been completely infatuated. Even her classmates and roommates thought she was being irrational. At the time, aside from being rich, Mo Xian outshone him in every other aspect. Shaking her head, she looked at the USB drive in her hand and inserted it into her computer. There was only one folder on it. When she opened it and saw the contents of the files, Su Yanran could hardly believe her eyes. Mo Jinping was suspected of cryptocurrency fraud, virtual gambling, and even illegal lending, a whole list of offenses. With all this evidence combined, the Mo family's young master was looking at a conservative estimate of at least 10 years in prison. There was also an image with large, red printed text. You know what to do, right? When Mo Xian and the other two returned to the manor, Uncle Zheng had been waiting outside, his face a little red from a cold. Seeing them return, Uncle Zheng hurried over and said carefully, "Eldest miss, second miss, mister. Luo is here." Luo Xia and Luo Muki raised their eyebrows. Their father? Mo Xian was also quite surprised. He had met Luo Sheng a few times. Unlike Shen Qingyun, Luo Sheng had a gentle temperament, wasn't very talkative, and was quite warm towards him. However, Luo Sheng always gave Mo Xian the impression of a man who wanted to be close to his daughters but felt somewhat awkward and at a loss. As for Luo Xia and Luo Muki, they were always polite to their father. But it was only politeness. Entering the living room, Luo Sheng was sitting on the sofa. Luo Weier and Luo Shuer were sprawled on the table, playing. Hearing the noise, the two little tykes quickly turned around, ran over happily, and hugged Mo Xian's legs, cooing, "Daddy." Mo Xian bent down and picked them up. The two little ones wrapped their arms around their father's neck, about to kiss him, when they finally noticed their mother and Annie, who had returned with him. Then, they chose to ignore them, kissed their daddy twice, and only then said sweetly, "Mommy, and ha, we should have given you two to Luo Tian to raise right after you were born, save us the trouble of being annoyed by you." Luo Xia and Luo Muki grumbled inwardly. Each extended a hand and clearly, retaliatorily, pinched her respective daughter's cheek. The two little tykes immediately looked aggrieved by the pain, but seeing their mother's warning gazes, they could only continue to snuggle against their daddy and shoot defiant looks at their mothers. These two little rascals. Ahem, ahem. Luo Sheng, on the sofa, couldn't help but cough twice. He felt that if he didn't make some noise, this family might just forget he was there. Mo Xian apologetically put the children down and walked over, saying respectfully, "Hello, Uncle Luo. Sit down." Luo Sheng smiled gently. He then glanced at Luo Xia and Luo Muki. Seeing him, the two sisters merely greeted him flatly, "Dad." Then, taking their daughters by the hand, they turned to go upstairs. Mo Xian wanted to stop them, but Luo Sheng waved his hand at him and then gave a bitter smile. "I just came to see my granddaughters. I'll be leaving shortly. Why don't you chat with me for a bit, Mo Xian?" Seeing this, Mo Xian didn't know what else to say. He had never understood why Luo Xia and Luo Muki were always so cold towards their own family. When he occasionally asked, they would mention some past events and their reluctance to be close to their family. "I heard your grandmother passed away. I felt I should come and see you," Luo Sheng said to Mo Xian, his tone full of regret. "Speaking of which, I was fortunate enough to attend one of your grandmother's lectures in the past. I never expected." Seeing a flicker of sadness in Mo Xian's eyes at the mention of this, Luo Sheng changed the subject. "Are Xia and Muki doing well lately?" "Yes, very well," Mo Xian nodded. "Why don't you ask them yourself? Some misunderstandings are better cleared up." "Never mind. As long as they are doing well, that's enough," Luo Sheng said, waving his hand dismissively. He looked deeply at Mo Xian and then asked, "Do you know why they aren't close to us?" Mo Xian shook his head. He truly knew nothing about this matter. He had asked Uncle Zheng before, but Uncle Zheng had been evasive, so Mo Xian hadn't pressed further. "This matter, if we're to assign blame, it lies with my father," Luo Sheng said with a bitter smile. "When he passed away, we only then found out he had an illegitimate son. For so-called prominent families like ours, these kinds of messy affairs..." As he spoke, the emotion in Luo Sheng's eyes became very complex. The experiences of those 2 years had left him utterly exhausted. The illegitimate son somehow managed to get a portion of the old man's assets. He also garnered support from families and businesses that wanted to bring down the Luo family, employing extremely despicable and unscrupulous methods. That the Luo family managed to survive that turmoil and remain Kyoto's top conglomerate, only they knew the price they had paid. If it hadn't been absolutely necessary, they wouldn't have had Luo Xia and Luo Muki temporarily leave home and hide out near where Mo Xian and his grandmother lived. Thinking of this, Luo Sheng's eyes suddenly filled with extreme pain, and his voice choked up a little. On one occasion, the situation was critical. We could only choose to save one, either the sisters or Luo Tian. We chose Luo Tian because he was the only male heir among the children of our two families. Mo Xian's eyes instantly turned cold when he heard Luo Sheng's words. Luo Tian was the Luo family's only male heir. Mo Xian wasn't surprised that old Madame Luo had made such a choice, but he was shocked that Luo Sheng and Xin Qingyan, as parents, would actually agree. Noticing the change in Mo Xian's eyes, Luo Sheng gave a self-deprecating smile. That time, you could say it was a no-win situation. My brother and I had actually almost stabilized things. For 2 years, my father's illegitimate son and his backers were gradually being brought under our control, defeated. But we never expected. Shiya and Mu Qi's hiding place was exposed, and at the same time, they found out Luo Tian's location. To stabilize the situation, our family had sent out almost everyone we could trust. We were clearly short-handed, but we didn't dare use unfamiliar faces at such a critical time. So, it was a choice between two, and we chose Luo Tian. No other reason. Just because he was the Luo family's eldest grandson, the sole male heir. That's all. Bang. Mo Xian slammed his fist hard on the table. He didn't know why he was so furious about this. It wasn't just because of his feelings for the sisters. The sensation was familiar, and it didn't stem from Luo Tian. In fact, he'd interacted with Luo Tian more than once or twice. He didn't dislike him, and even got along quite well with him. Previously, at the Luo family's old residence, when talking with old Madame Luo, he had merely felt averse. But now, hearing Luo Sheng's words, he found himself unable to control his emotions. "I understand why you're angry, and I don't want to make excuses," Luo Sheng said with a helpless smile. "But have you considered? That reason, in fact, was enough." Luo Tian was already in university then. Although he didn't seem to have grand ambitions, and even, to use your younger generation's term, was a bit of a slacker. When it comes to natural talent and intelligence, he's actually not as good as Shiya and Mu Qi, especially Shiya, who was already involved in managing the vast Luo family business during her university years. Whether in terms of vision or business acumen, Luo Tian couldn't compare to her. But back then, in our eyes, Luo Tian was very promising, capable of supporting the Luo family without any problem. And, as I mentioned, the most important thing was that he was the only male heir. Mo Xian's clenched fist slowly relaxed a little. The reason was laughable, yet irrefutable. For a century-old family like the Luos, who had stood at the pinnacle of the capital society for so long, making such a choice seemed, perhaps, not surprising at all. And Luo Tian wasn't some good-for-nothing rich heir. Although every time Mo Xian saw him, he'd hear him complain about wanting to go fishing or retire, Luo Tian still managed the Luo Corporation meticulously. Regarding that incident, my older brother vehemently disagreed, trading 2 lives, his own nieces, for Luo Tian. My brother said he'd rather Luo Tian die than live with nightmares for the rest of his life. But my mother insisted on prioritizing Luo Tian, and my wife and I agreed with her decision. Having been a businessman for too long, my way of thinking changed. I followed my mother's wishes and chose Luo Tian. My wife supported it. From the very beginning, it was all just a matter of weighing pros and cons. Shiya and Mu Qi were not only girls, but they were also young at the time. We couldn't gamble with them. At this moment, Mo Xian somewhat hated his own rationality. Luo Sheng was right. From the perspective of family interests, no matter how he thought about it, this seemed perfectly logical. But thinking about Shiya and Mu Qi's situation back then, Mo Xian felt an immense pain, as if he had fallen into water, experiencing an inexplicable sense of suffocation and helplessness. Luo Sheng looked at Mo Xian, who was silent with his head down, and a memory suddenly surfaced. The first time he had seen Mo Xian. Strictly speaking, it was Mo Xian lying on the ground, clinging to a thug's leg, refusing to let go, already unconscious. He was wearing a school uniform, his face covered in blood. A mere 15-year-old boy. Even if he was the closed-door disciple of martial arts master Zhang, facing 8 or 9 armed adults, a group of professional thugs with criminal records, active in the underworld, was overwhelming. A kid had actually taken down 5 of them by himself, but he was also severely injured. The leg of the 6th one he was holding onto had a chunk bitten out of it. No matter how the man kicked and struggled, Mo Xian held on desperately. When their people arrived, they just managed to stop the remaining attackers. There were 2 groups of assailants that day. Uncle Zheng led his men to intercept one group and sent people to escort Shiya and Mu Qi away. But unexpectedly, The enemy had more men. If it hadn't been for Mo Xian, the consequences would have been unthinkable. But thinking of this, Luo Sheng felt only guilt and remorse. Why did he have to think about these things? How desperate Shirya and Mu Qi must have been then. If not for Mo Xian, he would have only been able to collect his two daughters' bodies. 2 years of knowing each other, and under those circumstances, he had practically risked his own life to save them. The greatest regret was that he had lost his memory. Telling you all this, I don't really have any other motive. Besides, it's not exactly something to be proud of. Luo Sheng gave a bitter smile. I'm not trying to ask you to help smooth things over between us. After all, there's probably nothing left to smooth over. Mo Xian looked at Luo Sheng, unsure what to say. He knew clearly that this was unfair to Shirya and Mu Qi, but he couldn't bring himself to blame Luo Sheng. Even if they had given up Luo Tian, wouldn't they have regretted it? What those people did back then wasn't just about killing the 3 Luo children. It was more about psychologically devastating them. Whether Luo Sheng gave up his 2 daughters, or his elder brother Luo Quan gave up Luo Tian, one side would have to bear the pain of the choice made. Speaking of which, I think we're quite similar, Luo Sheng said, abruptly changing the subject, seemingly wanting to move on from the heavy topic. Actually, my wife and I, Shirya was also born before we were married. And, thinking of his wife, Luo Sheng could only offer another helpless, bitter smile. That day, I also drank too much. When I woke up the next morning, I found my wife sleeping beside me. Hearing this, Mo Xian's eyes widened involuntarily. Could this be hereditary? I clearly remember that day. I went drinking with a friend. It was supposed to be a simple social engagement. I don't even know how I ended up at her room. Luo Sheng sighed. I apologized to her, told her she could punish me however she wanted. She didn't mind, and instead told me, "As long as you feel that way, it's fine. I don't blame you." How did you know? Luo Sheng looked at Mo Xian in surprise. Mo Xian had a dark expression and didn't answer Luo Sheng's question, instead continuing, "Did Anishin disappear for a while later and then come back holding a baby? You know this too? Did Shirya or Mu Qi tell you?" Luo Sheng suddenly felt a twinge of annoyance at his daughters. How could they casually talk about such things? Not really, it's just. Mo Xian scratched his head awkwardly. My experience was the same as yours back then. Because back then, Shirya and Mu Qi had acted first and reported later. The Luo family only found out about it after the children were born. And it just so happened that Luo Sheng and Shun Xinyan were busy expanding their overseas business during that time and were in the country. By the time they returned, the children were already crawling all over the place. Luo Sheng looked at Mo Xian and suddenly felt a great sense of relief. He thought about how lucky he actually was. At least he was only entangled with his wife. But Mo Xian was fancied by both his daughters, who, in this regard, had clearly outshone their mother. Some words that were on the tip of his tongue remained unsaid. "Kid, it's about time someone shared this burden of past experiences with me. It's not that this uncle of yours is being unfair. It's just, I'm out of options, really." Setting aside Luo Sheng's rather unscrupulous thoughts, Mo Xian felt a growing unease. Regarding what happened back then, Luo Xia and Luo Muki's explanation was that they had also drunk too much and gotten a room to rest, only to find Mo Xian already inside. The man drugged, the women drunk. The whole affair had supposedly happened in a confused muddle. The explanation was rather flimsy, but considering Luo Xia and Luo Muki's status, coupled with Mo Jinping's scheme against him, Mo Xian had wondered if perhaps some mishap had occurred along the way. Still, it begged the question. Who in their right mind would believe the 2 Luo family princesses would actually plot against him? But after hearing Luo Sheng today, Mo Xian felt a seed of doubt for the first time. If the mother situation was a coincidence, could the daughters be one too? If this was how all the women in this family found their husbands, wasn't the risk a bit too high? Luo Sheng didn't know how Luo Xia and Luo Muki had succeeded. His wife, however, did, but she hadn't told him. She couldn't very well tell him, "The father, your daughters used the same methods on someone else that I used on you, right?" Luo Sheng hadn't pried. Once he knew it was Mo Xian, he found it somewhat more acceptable. When Mo Xian had amnesia, Luo Xia and Luo Muki had gone to find him. But who knew what they saw? They returned and started smashing things like madwomen. His antique collection, porcelain pieces worth tens of millions, expensive furniture. When the sisters' frenzy took over, they spared nothing. It scared Luo Tian, a young man standing 8 meters tall, so much that he'd tremble just at the sight of them. Forget him. Even Luo Sheng was frightened. The madness in Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki's eyes, the morbid look on their faces, it couldn't be faked. Well, that was quite a coincidence too, huh? Luo Sheng couldn't help feeling he probably shouldn't have brought it up. It's getting late. If I'm back too late, your Auntie Sheng will be on my case. I have to go. With that, Luo Sheng stood up and left, even pretending not to hear Mo Xian trying to get him to stay. Dad left. Luo Xia had come downstairs at some point, finding Mo Xian sitting on the sofa in a daze. Xiao Xian, are you all right? Did he say something to you? You don't need to pay it any mind. Xia, let me ask you something. Mo Xian looked up, his gaze lost as he faced her. That time, with you and Miyuki at the hotel, was it really an accident? Luo Xia blinked, then smiled. Is that important? Mo Xian was momentarily speechless, unsure how to answer. Luo Xia walked over, sat beside him, and reached out to caress his face. You lost your memory. Do you remember when you first moved in? I took you to the hospital a few times. Mo Xian nodded, still a bit lost. Of course, he remembered. When he moved in, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki had suggested taking him to the hospital. He hadn't known why. Luo Xia explained it was just a routine checkup, nothing to worry about. That time, the doctor had inquired about Mo Xian's past head injury and damaged memory nerves. The sisters had insisted on taking him for detailed examinations multiple times. Apart from the damaged memory nerves, there were no other issues. Along the way, they tried medication and even took him to a psychologist. Mo Xian had been very curious at the time why they were so concerned about his amnesia, but they never gave him an explanation. The test results indicated that Mo Xian's condition could only recover slowly, and it was best not to use medical interventions or hypnotherapy to forcibly awaken his memories, as it could be risky. I didn't dare tell you. The doctor said to let you recover on your own. But I could tell you one thing, Xiao Xian. Luo Xia's eyes suddenly reddened. Her alluring eyes filled with an indescribable sorrow. Miyuki and I, we've liked you for much longer than you think. We've only ever liked you from the very beginning. Mo Xian stared blankly at Luo Xia, that familiar feeling once again flooding his mind. Wei, sis. For some reason, Mo Xian suddenly blurted out this name. Hearing those words, Luo Xia abruptly looked up at him. This was the first time Mo Xian had directly faced Luo Xia's morbid gaze. A chill ran down his spine, but Luo Xia grabbed his collar, her voice filled with unconcealable excitement. What did you just call me? I don't know why. I just suddenly felt that's what you should be called. Luo Xia's abrupt change snapped Mo Xian's muddled mind to attention. But when he looked again, Luo Xia's eyes had returned to their usual gentleness, perhaps with a hint of dejection. Strange. Was it just an illusion? Luo Xia sighed, took Mo Xian's hand, and said, Come upstairs with me, Xiao Xian. I want to show you something. Mo Xian didn't know what to do for a moment, but followed Luo Xia upstairs, not to the study, but to her bedroom. She took out a photo album from the bedside table, opened it carefully, and handed it to Mo Xian. The moment he saw the photos, Mo Xian froze. There he was, in a middle school uniform, in an old Western-style house, photographed with a younger Luo Xia and an even younger Luo Miyuki, whose face still had a touch of baby fat. They looked so different from now, yet he recognized them instantly. Do you remember now? Luo Xia looked at the astounded Mo Xian, her voice a soft, hopeful whisper. But Mo Xian looked up at her and shook his head mechanically. It was all him, yet he just couldn't remember. It's okay. The doctor said back then that your situation was special. As she spoke, tears welled up in Luo Xia's eyes, and then she burst out crying. Who would believe that the aloof, arrogant heiress of a wealthy conglomerate could cry so heartbrokenly at this moment? She threw herself into Mo Xian's arms, pounding on his chest. How could you forget those 2 years? Why those 2 years specifically? Mo Xian held the album, his gaze vacant. The forgotten memories were like shapes shrouded in mist. He could only vaguely make out their outlines. I'm sorry. After a long while, Mo Xian finally seemed to find his voice. Luo Xia looked up, her eyes brimming with tears, her voice full of grievance. Miyuki and I went to find you, but you looked at us like we were strangers. And back then, Su Yanran was by your side. That day, it really was an accident. Miyuki and I happened to be there too. We recognized you and saw something was wrong. So we had someone take you to a hotel. But before we left that day, Miyuki and I had a couple more drinks. My head was a bit fuzzy, and I saw the room key in my hand and mistakenly thought we'd already gotten a room. We never expected you'd been drugged. And with the alcohol affecting us, Miyuki and I, it all happened in a blur. When we woke up the next day, you still didn't recognize us. We didn't think too much of it. After all, those 2 years you forgot were precious memories for us. We truly don't blame you. But we never imagined we'd get pregnant. Miyuki and I were both shocked, but we still want to have the babies. We didn't dare tell you the truth, especially since you'd lost your memory, so we used this method to keep you by our side. Hearing this, Imo-Shien looked somewhat blankly at the photo album in his hands. The three of them in the picture were smiling so happily. Even if he still couldn't remember, the him in the photos wouldn't lie. I'm sorry, tears suddenly streamed down Imo-Shien's face. How can I still not remember? How could I have forgotten you? It's not your fault you lost your memory, Xiaoxian. You saved us. Luo Xia gently wiped the tears from Imo-Shien's face. You were injured because of us. All these years, Miyuki and I never forgot you. If you don't remember, you don't remember. It's okay. As long as you're still with us. Even if you never remember what happened between us back then, it's... Before she could finish, Imo-Shien pulled her into his embrace. Luo Xia was stunned for a moment, then hugged him back tightly. But on her tear-streaked, beautiful face, a sly smile appeared. Luo Sheng was in the car, resting with his eyes closed, when his phone suddenly rang. Seeing the caller ID wifey, he quickly answered. Hubby, did you go see Weier and Shui? Unlike usual, Shen Qingyun's voice was exceptionally gentle. Luo Sheng rubbed the bridge of his nose, a hint of resignation in his voice. All right, out with it. Who did you bribe to keep an eye on me this time? Now, what kind of talk is that? Shen Qingyun feigned annoyance. I'm just concerned about you. When are you coming back? Just as he was about to answer, a message popped up on Luo Sheng's phone. After a glance, he said apologetically, Honey, I'm sorry, a few friends just asked me to grab a drink. Oh, is that so? Shen Qingyun went silent for a moment. Luo Sheng couldn't tell what she was doing, but he heard what sounded like typing. All right, hubby, you can come home now. I've already declined it for you. Luo Sheng was about to ask, Do you even know who it was? But then he realized the question was pointless. If Shen Qingyun wanted to know something about him, she'd find out, accurately and without fail. You could say he wasn't free, yet he could go out when he needed to, do whatever he wanted. But then again, Shen Qingyun always had a way to make him come home on time, practically making it impossible for him to stay away. All right, I'm heading back now. I'll be quick. Luo Sheng's voice was filled with helplessness, yet also a hint of indulgence. No matter how controlling she was, she genuinely loved him. All these years, Shen Qingyun had put in so much meticulous effort. Luo Sheng knew she was a bit unconventional, but he had accepted it. What could he do? He couldn't leave her either. Montak Suan. This old man's today might just be your tomorrow. Hanging up, he sighed helplessly, but still said to the driver, Speed up a bit. Don't keep Madame waiting too long.